It's time for an inside look at the most powerful motorsport on the planet. WFO Radio, NHRA Nitro.
It's the most exciting sport on earth as far as I'm concerned.
Take a walk through the Nitro pits as we go one-on-one with the stars of drag racing.
Hi, I'm Courtney Forrest.
I'm Tony Schumacher.
Hey, you're with Matt Hagan.
This is Ron Capps, Matt Hagan's personal friend. You're on WFO.
Featuring the NHRA's Alan Reinhart.
Our events are truly an experience. They're not just a spectator event. They are an experience.
So get in, sit down, and hold on with host Joe Castello as he goes WFO.
Thanks, brother. Always love being on WFO, baby. Nobody brings it to you better than you, brother.
Now crank it up. It's time to go WFO. Here's your host, Joe Castello.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to WFO Radio NHRA Nitro. I'm Joe Castello, and our 2018 Parade of NHRA Champions is going to begin this week. I want to thank you all for clicking on the podcast, subscribing on iTunes, Apple Podcast, wherever you get your podcasts. And know this, we are going to go right through the winter break into December. We got PRI next week and all kinds of fun stuff. We're going to try to keep you going through the holidays, up to the holidays, and then we'll be back in January. But we don't stop here on WFO Radio. And on this show, we are going to start off with 3 champion drivers. Steve Torrence, the perfect countdown, will be discussed just moments from now. Steve Torrence is going to be on the show, and we're going to talk about all of it. Steve's getting ready to go on a hunting trip, obviously celebration, and a break after this amazing feat that I think is the most significant team accomplishment ever in the sport of NHRA drag racing. And I'm making that point. I'm making it over and over again. I am open to interpretation and maybe a little pushback. Tell me what's greater than the perfect countdown and 11 for 11 in final rounds in the regular season. What's better than perfection? I can't think of anything, and that's why Steve Torrence, to me, has the top single moment for a team in the sport of drag racing ever. I know it's a huge statement, but I'm making it, and that's what we do here on WFO Radio. So Steve Torrence going to be on the show, but also on the show, Lucas Oil Series Competition Eliminator champion, Frank Aragona Jr. Frankie going to be on the show, goes out there, wins the title. Last 2 years, finished second, finished first. Frank Aragona going to break down his championship season, and RacingRVs.com top sportsman world champion, Ronnie Proctor, going to be on the show. So we're starting off strong with 3 world champions. Plus, we'll hear from CompetitionPlus.com editor Bobby Bennett. He's got a new column about pro stock and where it went wrong. We're going to talk about pro stock with Bobby Bennett. We're also going to talk about pro stock with Alan Reinhart. Went bracket racing myself this past weekend. Saw a lot of drag racer friends, and they kept asking me about pro stock. They didn't ask me about the perfect countdown. They didn't ask me about J.R. Todd. They didn't ask me about nitro cars. They didn't ask me about anything other than pro stock. Don't they realize this is the category that the racers love and aspire to? Still. And it was very interesting. How many people? 5. Maybe a small sample size. I don't know, of the people who would come up and talk to me and ask me that question. I found that to be interesting. The racers still love pro stock, at least the ones that I'm interacting with. So we're going to talk about that on the show. We're going to delve into some of the news of the day. Interesting things. Samtech Factory Stock Showdown back for 2019, increasing the schedule to 8 races. That's big stuff. I guess I just told you the news right there. And as I said, Alan Reinhart going to be joining us on this show. But this show is brought to you by some sponsors that make it all possible. These people make this show possible. And as the holidays are upon us, I know Black Friday is in the rearview mirror, and I know Cyber Monday is in the rearview mirror. But believe it or not, these places are open for business beyond those 2 days. Beyond those 2 days. We're talking about Hankstafers, Metalworking Lubricants, Hankstafers Laboratories. Here it is, PRI, next week, booth number 57, December 6th, 7th, 8th. They've got stuff going on in the booth the whole time, but Thursday, December 6th, 1 to 3 p.m., and Friday, December 7th, noon till 2. Antron Brown, Tommy Johnson Jr., Matt and Zach Sackman, everyone in the booth. I'm going to be swinging by, passing in and out. If you're going to PRI Thursday, 1 to 3, Friday, noon to 2, stop by booth number 57 in Indianapolis, Indiana, and say WFO and see what's up to the folks at Hangstifer's Laboratories and Hangstifer's Metalworking Lubricants. Performance racing, aerospace, medical, they do it all. Hangstifer's. Also, Rodak's Coffee and Grills.com, Marvin Rodak. Those holiday packs, a pound of coffee, a bottle of hot sauce, a container of spice rub is going to make your family member, your great client, your person in your life that you need to get them a gift very happy. They will appreciate it. It is a great gift. It's a simple gift. It's something to get for a bunch of people. Who doesn't love coffee and great barbecue sauce or hot sauce or spice rub? Who doesn't? Yeah, I question that person. Anyway, how can you not like that stuff? How can you not? CatSpotLitter.com. Scott Palmer jumping on board with WFO this year. CatSpotLitter.com. Magic Dry. Both do the same thing. They absorb. If you have got a cat, you're going to get Cat Spot. If you have a shop, you're going to get Magic Dry. Simple as that. Frank Hawley's Drag Racing School, the Dragster Adventure. Frank and Lana have put together such a great program. That is one you can send your family member or your loved one or your great client or your wonderful business colleague, the adrenaline junkie in your family. You can send them on a trip that they will not ever forget. Now, they got to get there themselves, but you get them the certificate to go on the Dragster Adventure. Go to frankhawley.com to find out more. We'll tell you more later. HusseyPerformance.net, the best copper head gaskets in the business. David Allen and the crew over there in Pennsylvania making custom quality copper head gaskets for any application. HusseyPerformance.net. You need gaskets for 2019? Call Hussey. AerospaceComponents.com. Kim Cussey and her team. Brakes, vacuum pumps, shifters. This past weekend, I was out there bracket racing myself and saw so many aerospace components on these race cars. It was very, very cool. Motorsportsguys.com. Terry McMillan and the crew. Amalie Motor Oil, available for your car, along with filters, along with parts, pieces, everything you need. Go to motorsportsguys.com and audible.com/WFO radio. Start your 30-day free trial. Audiobooks, and you will enjoy them if you're a listener, and you're a listener because you're listening to a podcast, and hopefully you will share this podcast and help us grow our audience. I have a lot of people come up to me on a regular basis, and they all say, oh, man, I'm telling everybody about the podcast, and I hope that is true, and that's exactly what we need. There are so many drag racing fans, older folks, older than me, who carry around the iPhone or Android phone and they use it just to dial their friends. They do not realize they can download the WFO radio app and enable push notifications and have a world of free drag racing entertainment and entertainment at their fingertips for when they're working or driving or doing whatever. Our Ignition show this week was fantastic. A lot of fun, a lot of nonsense. Quality humor. And some stuff that was definitely irreverent and over the line and unacceptable. You're going to have to listen and check it out. It wasn't me. Just saying. But right now it's time to get on with the show. The Parade of Champions begins, but every WFO radio starts the same way. Joining us now, he is the voice of the NHRA, and we have officially entered the winter break. Thanksgiving is in the rearview mirror. Alan Reinhart. I gave thanks for Alan Reinhart coming on the show at the start of every WFO radio on Thanksgiving. How are you, Alan?
I am well. What do you mean entered the winter break? I got a studio deal to do this week. I've got a division banquet to do this weekend. We got PRI next week. We're not even close.
Well, it's I get what you're saying. I raced this past weekend, too. All right, no winter break. That will be officially in after PRI. That's when the winter break really starts.
All right, I'll see if I can come up with another excuse to drag it out after that, but that at least buys me a couple of weeks. So you went racing. How many millions of dollars did you win?
I won $0.
Oh, come on.
No side betting action at all, but I did learn a lot and had a great time with my car and my dad. We had fun, and we saw our old friends, and, just continuing the learning process. And what I will say to everybody out there listening, if you have a car, and I'll even say a boat, don't ever stop using it. Don't ever stop using it, because when you stop, that's when everything goes south.
Yeah, you're right. And it's kind of tough to get back in the groove. Speaking of boats, maybe next year. Next year is the year my boat will go back in the water.
See, you got
I
a
can feel
boat.
it.
There's exactly the point. It's one of those things. When you've got a toy, you've got to use it. And when you don't, they fall into disrepair. And I've been fighting this disrepair. By the way, getting to race once a year is kind of slows things down as well. This was the first time I got to race since this race a year ago.
Yeah, that definitely makes it difficult to get into a groove, no question about it.
But had a good time. And it's not that I'm not at a racetrack. Obviously, we're always together seeing, professionals do their thing. And that's another aspect of it, Alan. Like when I do this, it only makes me respect the racers that we see on a weekly basis even more for so many reasons, but one of which is just how much work it is. It's a lot of work. Just getting to the racetrack is a challenge and a lot of work. By the way, did get to the racetrack without any blown tires, so that's a win.
Well, there you go. It's about the little things. You made progress over last year.
Yeah, total progress. Now we didn't go problem free. That would be, maybe we'll save that for next year. We did have an issue with our tow vehicle related to air conditioning. We got that squared away though, and made it to the track, made some runs, made test runs, learned some things like advancing the timing from 30 degrees with our Pontiac to like 36 degrees. Did not pick up the car's performance. We figured that out. Like bringing it back down to 30, it runs better at 30 degrees than it runs at 36. We've got domed pistons. There was some speculation that it would run better with the timing advanced more. It did not. So something was learned.
No, definitely with that high, if you got a high compression thing, I would think 36 degrees would be too much, no doubt about it. But I'm kind of with you on the vehicle maintenance, though. It's like the stupidest thing. My niece's truck has an issue, needs batteries. Okay, no problem. Spend $800, buy batteries because the niece, needs her truck, and it's important. You don't want her breaking down. You don't want her, so no problem. I spend the $800 to get her going. My truck won't start, needs batteries. So I just threw jumper cables in the back of it, and off I go.
There it is. There's the difference between, Alan, he'll fix it himself, and taking care of the loved family member.
Yeah. I'm actually thinking about going and taking the batteries out of her truck and putting them in mine, but I just can't bring myself to do that.
No, I totally get it. It is amazing, and we've seen people, stuck on the side of the road. It's not automatic for everybody that goes out on the tour by any means. But again, when you do something all the time, you get it figured out, like where everything needs to go and what you need for the road and what may or may not break and the backups that you have to have prepared. All that stuff comes with the repetition of racing on a regular basis.
True story. And, the guys that do it all the time know how to do it. And it's, I think the funniest thing I ever saw was Pete Biondo a couple of years ago in his Super Stocker. Did a wheel stand and came down. The guy in the other lane was red. And the only reason I remember that is because it came back for the next round. And did a wheel stand, came down, and it's like the front end collapsed, and it laid down, and he stopped the thing almost instantly. And it had a broken spindle. And it's like, wow, that sucks. And then 30 minutes later, he's back up for the next round. And I'm going, oh, come on. And he said, no, we've had that happen before. He said, I've got spindles in the trailer.
Wow.
It takes about 15 minutes to change one. And I went, okay, well, there you go. There's a professional racer that's been through the wars.
Yeah, and for those that are casual listeners, the spindle is not really the kind of thing that most people have just in the trailer. Unless
no, nobody does.
Unless you've had it happen before, and then you've got it. Which, and that was another thing, like organizing the trailer. There's just so many aspects to this sport. One of the reasons why, it's loved by those who love it, and it's a challenge to those that aren't doing it yet, because it does take a little warm-up time. All right, we got champions on this show, working on getting everybody on, but, over the next couple of weeks, catching up with, JR and Torrence and Tanner and Matt and all the Lucas Oil champs, and everyone's scheduled to be on at some point. I want to dig down a little deeper this week. Not a lot of big breaking news as we kind of going into that period. Talk a little bit about PRI over the next couple of weeks. But this pro stock situation, I think it deserves more discussion. While I was out at the racetrack this past weekend, we're talking West Palm Beach, Florida, running into my old, bracket racing friends, more questions about pro stock in the 18-race season than anything else. Meaning, like 10 people came up to me, and this was the comment. Are they trying to kill pro stock? ? And I said, no, they're not trying to kill pro stock. They're trying to save pro stock, and a back and forth would ensue. And I was like, they want to come up with a number that everybody can run and that it will flourish. And the question or comment, maybe flippantly, maybe whatever, would be like, well, don't they realize that that's the category that all of us racers aspire to and pay attention to? We don't want to be funny car drivers. We want to be pro stock racers. That's our dream. Like 2 or 3 people in this conversation said something almost identical to that.
I can understand that, and I mean, I think that's there's a lot of truth there. I think a lot of people look at the Nitro cars as either being unattainable or Star Wars type of thing, where a guy that has spent his life building engines that burn gasoline, that are naturally aspirated, pro stock is the top of that food chain, and that seems like, or for years had seemed like, an attainable goal. What's happened over the course of the last few years is the price of admission has gotten very high, and the number of teams that do it as a profession versus the number of teams that do it more as a hobby has definitely, the pendulum has swung over towards the hobby side, where so many of the competitors are not doing it, as we talked about last week. It's not their main source of income. It's not their livelihood. It's something that they do to kind of get away from business. We're talking about guys that have raced, stock or super stock or comp eliminator or somewhere along that finally went, you know what, let's go pro stock racing. And whether you're doing it with an engine lease program from one of the big builders, or whether you're trying to do your own horsepower and do it yourself, that seems to be an attainable goal. But the vast majority of those racers don't need another full-time job. So, the 24 event tour really becomes another full-time job. And so that's what a lot of the discussion was centered around. Personally, I'd love to have 25 cars show up at every race and have a 24 race schedule and have, a dozen full-time teams out there. And then guys that are leasing or guys that are running, 10, 12 races a year, that'd be great. But right now the landscape doesn't appear to be there for that. But if we have 20 teams or 22 teams that are willing to make a commitment to 16 races or 18 races, wouldn't you rather have 18 really strong races than to have 24 races where some of them have 13 cars or 14 cars, or, it's kind of become the norm to fill the field and just have 16 cars and not have to worry about whether you're going to qualify, and it takes a lot of the drama out of Friday, Saturday. So, and I know what the hope is from NHRA standpoint. Whether it'll get there or not, I don't know. But hypothetically speaking, if this turns into a 18 race season, which is what it's going to be next year, now, how about a comp eliminator guy or a super stock guy that's running 20 weeks a year, maybe more on a regional basis, but he's running that many races. He's got the hauler, he's got the truck, he's got the trailer, maybe he's even got the race car. It's just a matter of, okay, now would we make the commitment to go pro stock racing? And hopefully the numbers in the category will grow again. That's certainly the hope. NHRA does not want to kill pro stock in any way, shape, or form. They've been working with the racers for years and years, trying to come up with a viable way to save pro stock, because the numbers tell the tale. They've basically just been dwindling for the last at least 10 years.
Absolutely. And, there are some races that are a great challenge, and Bobby Bennett's got a good commentary up on Competition Plus. We're going to reach out to him and talk a little bit about it at some point, maybe even on this show. But, kind of illustrating some of the challenges. But I just don't see how you stop the evolution of anything. Like, how do you stop racers who want to explore new technologies from doing it? And I think that so many, like back in the day, you had a lot of people that were professional full-time racers, and this is what they did. And they built cars and they built engines and they went out and raced for money. And that was enough for them. And now they're competing against, let's call them the captains of industry, right? Like if somebody is a corporate executive or has got like a, successful business that brings in millions and millions, or dare I say tens of millions or maybe even hundreds of millions of dollars, and they decide they want to go race pro stock and just up the ante, what can you do? You can't tell them to stop, and you can't prevent them, and you can only do what you can do. And we have seen so many people, like, they would choose to focus on earning the money than building the power. And maybe they go buy the power and can only run 12 races. I don't see how we could fix that, is my point.
Well, it's been my experience from all of the years that I've been involved in racing, and this goes all the way back to when I was doing, Saturday night short track, dirt track races, or, just Saturday night bracket races at the little, local drag strip years before, they started building stadiums that we're racing in now. The cost of racing is always going to be determined by the racer. There are a number of people that say, well, the purse needs to go up because, look, we're spending all this money. That's not, you knew what the purse was before you spent the money. The cost of racing will always be determined by the racer. And I don't care what the number is. If you're racing to win $100, there is somebody out there who will spend $1,000 to win that $100 every week. And now, either the other people that are competing in the category either have to up their spending to stay competitive, or they're going to get their butt kicked by the same guy every week. So pretty soon, everybody starts spending more money. And then you've got 10 guys or 20 guys that are spending $1,000 to race for this $100 every week. And then the grumbling starts. It's like, well, yeah, the payout needs to go up. Look at all the money we're spending. We're only, they're only paying us $100 to win. Well, okay. If I made the payout $10,000, then what are you going to do? Well, then we're going to go spend more money because we're racing for $10,000 now. We got to spend more money. And it just is a continual evolution. The sanctioning bodies don't determine what it costs to race. The racers determine what it costs to race. And I've seen it over and over and over again, even in modern history. It wasn't that long ago that nobody would have ever dreamed about spending $25,000 or $30,000 on a set of shock absorbers for a pro stock car until somebody did and found out that they were worth $150 or $200. So then what happens? Everybody buys them because I can't give away that couple of hundreds. I got to go buy these things. And you can't just have one set of them. You got to have at least two sets because you got to have a backup. So now everybody in the pits has spent $50,000 or $60,000 on shock absorbers to do what? To do nothing. The gap is exactly where it was before that because everybody has picked up the same 200s. It's just that they're all now $50,000 or $60,000 in the hole. And for those who say, well, NHRA could outlaw those, yeah, I guess they could. But then you hear from the racers, oh, you're stifling the evolution. This is what we do.
And the company that makes them. And the company that makes them. We've got people that are making money. We're making money selling these shocks, and there are people whose jobs depend on these shocks.
If you're the first guy that's got those shocks, you think they're the greatest thing in the world. And then once everybody gets them, it's like, okay, well, all we did was waste a bunch of money for this little advantage that we had for a very short period of time. But it's the racers that decide that. And if the racers would get together, and when you're talking about pro stock, you're not talking about a big pool of racers, okay? You could get these 15 or so team owners together and have everybody go, okay, guys, let's all dump the shocks. As of next year, we'll never run these shocks again. So you know what? We'll use them, we'll have them, we'll get our, and then nobody buys them again. Everybody starts saving money. And we go back to right where we were. Okay, instead of the car going 654, it goes 656 now. Who cares? You just saved yourself $50,000 or $60,000. But nobody will do that. And if you got what you perceive to be an advantage, then you're going to try to keep that a secret as long as possible. And then once the word gets out and everybody goes out and buys the same part, now you guys have just all spent a bunch of money, but nobody has gained anything. If a magic clutch comes out that's worth 1/100 or 300ths of a second, man, you got to have that. Well, if you're the first guy to have it, boy, you look like a hero for about a month or maybe 6 months if you can keep it a secret that long. until everybody realizes, hey, that new clutch is worth 0.03 of a second. We got to get one of them. And here you go again. And pro stock is probably the worst because everybody is looking for that hundredth or that half a hundredth. I don't know how familiar you are with this. I doubt most of your listeners are. There was a time not all that long ago where the titanium rear end housing was in vogue.
Yes.
Because that's unsprung weight, and it's lighter, and it was worth an advantage. The problem was they were ridiculously expensive, and because titanium, as a general rule, is a fairly soft metal to work with, they had a really short lifespan. So the guys that could afford them, well, they're buying new rear end housings every, whatever it was, 25 or 30 runs, I think was all the lifespan was. And the guys that couldn't afford them, all of a sudden, fall by the wayside. Now, I believe everybody kind of went, okay, guys, this is stupid. Let's quit doing that. And that the titanium, I haven't heard much about titanium rear end housings in a while. So I think it's a group. They got together and went, hey, this is stupid. Let's just all go back to running steel housings and save all this money. But there needs to be more of that out there. And you'll never stop it. You look at, I think NASCAR's a premium example. There was a time when, boy, you had to have a testing budget. That Kentucky Speedway was booked months and months in advance because Roush would be there Monday and Tuesday, and Penske would be there Wednesday and Thursday, and Hendrick would be there Friday and Saturday, and these major players all had test teams. I mean, complete teams of engineers, of mechanics, of drivers, of everybody that would go, and they would be constantly just running laps until NASCAR went, hey, stop, guys, enough. And the way they decided that they were going to try to slow that down and save everybody money was by not giving them tires. If you don't have tires, you can't test.
Yeah.
So
we've got it figured out, right? No.
They clamp down on it, and it's like, guys, this is going to save everybody money because, okay, you're not testing, but you know what? Neither is he, and neither is he, and neither is he. So nobody's going to gain any advantage here. We're going to save you guys a fortune. So what did they do? They went out and bought 7 post shakers because they got the money. This was all testing budget that all of a sudden we can't spend now. So they went out and bought 7 post shakers. And then they could simulate the racetrack and the cars and what they did, and they put these things on the shakers, and they spent a fortune. And then instead of going to the racetrack, you would just set the car up, and you would beat the snot out of it, and you'd figure out your spring and your shock packages and your body roll and all that stuff, and you'd spend a fortune. And the next evolution of that now is the simulation software. You almost never hear of a NASCAR team now going and unloading off the truck and being terrible. They're either really good or pretty good, but you almost never hear them being terrible because the teams that have the budget have got this simulation software, and they can run the entire race and figure everything out on the computers and in these simulation programs, and then they just build the car, and they set the car up to do what it's supposed to do. Now, that 7-post shaker that you just spent a fortune on is worthless. Absolutely worthless. I was very fortunate. I got an opportunity to go through Furniture Row Racing when we were in Denver last year. The inside, behind the scenes back tour, and they have a 7-post shaker that basically now is a storage shelf.
Wow.
Because they have no use for it anymore, and nobody needs it, so it has no value to sell to anybody anymore. It's just a storage shelf, and it's just ridiculous the amount of stuff. And I don't mean this to sound like I'm bagging on NASCAR. I love NASCAR. I have a lot of friends that work in that world, but I wonder how many people realize that a car goes to the racetrack and it goes out there and it runs 500 miles or 500 laps or whatever, and it doesn't have a scratch on it. Okay? Didn't hit anything, didn't make contact. It doesn't have a scratch on it. Won the race, comes back. It is pristine, perfect. You know the first thing they do with it?
What?
They cut the body off of it and start all over again. Every time, every race, every week. Because there's always some little something that they want to learn, that they want to check, that they go through the laser inspection and go, oh, we could have moved this 15 thousandths of an inch. And a car that comes back without a tire mark, without a rub, without a scratch on it, They cut the body off of it and hang a new body on it before the car goes back out to the racetrack. Why? Because there's a perceived advantage there, and because, well, the other guys are doing it, so we got to do it to keep up with the Joneses. And I said, the race teams are always going to determine the cost of admission, not the sanctioning body, the race teams. And if one guy's willing to spend, then everybody else has to spend to keep up with them. It's just that simple.
It is just that simple. And to tie it into my own experience, this past weekend, this little race that I went to, and it's been going for 37 years, has always been, like, how could I describe it without being, insulting? But this is the race that if you are, you got a car that's been sitting in the garage and you haven't touched it, you might want to bring it out anyway, right? Like, just like me, right? Like, I used to make fun of the people that would come out to the Citrus Nationals, the once-a-year crowd. I would mock them, and now it's me because I don't have the time, and I totally get it. But I rolled through the gate, and the entry was $125, and I was like, whoa, $125, man, that's pretty expensive. Well, they want to make it a big money bracket race to attract big money bracket racers who have spent a lot of money on, chassis and their bracket cars, and they run on a regular basis. And so now it's $5,000 to win, which isn't the biggest money bracket race anymore. Once upon a time, it was a pretty good payout. But now my entry is $125, Alan. It's like, wow, I'm not winning the $5,000. You know what I mean? Like, maybe I'm getting lucky and winning the $5,000, but I am at a competitive disadvantage. I'm there to just try to, have a little fun, learn about my car, do as well as I can, but I got to pay $125 to enter to go out there and fight against the Sharks, who are there to win a big money bracket race. And I did, and it was fun, and I wouldn't take it back, and I would go again, but I didn't run on Sunday. $100 to enter. I knew, like, man, that's throwing away $100, man. This thing's got a rear main seal leak. I'm faking my way down the racetrack. Yeah, if it was the the $45 that it had been in the previous year, I would have probably gone out there on Sunday. But it was like, man, I'm just going to hand over this. It does call the herd in many ways in an era that we need more racers, but the hurdles to entry are really high. And so that is a challenge. And you will be discussing a lot of this at PRI in that forum you are doing.
A little bit, yeah. I think, more of the one forum that I'm kind of focusing on right now is it's more about the future, 5 years, 10 years. And I think it's more, from a manufacturing standpoint, from from an aftermarket standpoint. There's certainly going to be some discussion about that. Luke Bagacki actually has had a couple of very interesting columns on his website, thisisbracketracing.com, about just exactly that. The guys that the local track that can't attract the big money racers, and there's just kind of a dead area there, where guys that'll go out and spend the $45 or $50 a week to race for a couple $100 or whatever and have fun. They want to be able to go out and race for $5,000 or $10,000 or whatever. And if there is a local race at your track and 150 miles away, there's a $5,000 to win race. Well, the guys that think they're good, or the guys that are good, are going to go to the $5,000 to win race. But you can't do that every week as a standard business model unless, as you just said, the cost of admission gets to be so high because they've got to be able to cover the purse. And it's just, it's kind of a scary circle.
It really is. It really is. And it's kind of interesting in two other fronts that I will just kind of draw. Like, number one, this past weekend we're running on a quarter-mile facility. Palm Beach is a quarter-mile facility. It is an all-concrete quarter-mile facility. But for whatever reason, the local racers have decided they would prefer to run eighth mile. And so now everyone is running eighth mile, and I'm trying to figure out why they are running eighth mile on a quarter-mile facility, and asking around and talking to people. And there is this thing that has emerged that, people are spending giant sums of money for huge investments in power to go bracket racing in a top-notch, top-tier, four-link suspended dragster, but they only want to run it to the eighth mile, right? And it's like, wait a second, you got to go the same distance. You're either on the throttle or you're not, right? You're either going halfway down. There's a half mile of concrete, basically, a half mile of asphalt, and you know what I'm getting at. And we're either lifting at the eighth mile or we're lifting at the quarter mile. And a lot of them, especially the young crowd, the former junior dragster racers, and I know why. They don't want to relearn the track that they've always raced on. They would prefer to run to the 8th mile because they don't want to wear out their equipment that they spent so much money on. Well, wait a second. So you've just cut your on-track acceleration time in half. Now I'm running for 6.7 seconds instead of 10.5 seconds, just about. But they have an excuse in their mind, which is, well, I invested so much in my equipment, I don't want to wear it out. That's part of the circle, too, because I think that the 8th mile racing, it's great if it's all you've got, but if you're on a quarter-mile track, coasting the second half of the quarter-mile track is not fun.
And some of that, I think, is old school versus new school, too. I could make an argument for both sides of that. I've done very, very little 8th mile racing. Every track, out west at where I live and where I grew up, and when I started doing it when I was 16 years old, taking mom's car out there, everything was quarter mile, and that's just kind of what I grew up on. And every time I've tried to race 8th mile, I have really disliked it. And I think that the reason is because I don't have enough time to make the wrong decision. When I'm quarter mile racing, you're down there about 800, 900 feet. You're looking at the other guy. You're either catching him or he's catching you, and you got time to screw it up. And when it's 8th mile racing, I just don't have enough time to make the wrong decision. So that's one thing that I didn't like about it. I just, it's kind of funny that drag racing might be the only event there is where you spend more and more money so that you can spend less and less time participating. Because if you got a 12-second car, you want to go 10s. And if you got a 10-second car, you want to go 9s. And if you got an 8-second car, you want to go 7s, and on and on and on. And so you spend more and more money so that you can spend less and less time participating. And maybe run an 8th mile is just a way to speed that process up.
Exactly. No, it's a crazy thing, and it's funny. And now we've spent so much money. We want to run the car even less. Let's shorten the track to 330. Let's go to 60 foot. Why not? Let's just do practice tree racing. I don't know. It's just an observation from being out there. I have won an 8th mile bracket race in my Trans Am, and I've won many quarter mile races. And to me, it's like insane to choose 8th mile over quarter mile if you have a quarter mile facility available. It's here we are, we're on this track, what are we going to run? But I do hear that this might be a downside of the junior dragster kids, that they don't want to relearn quarter mile. They don't want the picture to change. They've been running 8th mile since 8 years old or earlier. Now you're going to expect them to learn something new? To go out and change the picture and the speed and the way everything looks? No way. They're not going to give up that advantage. And that's why so many of the young people out there, at least at this particular track, are locked into 8th mile because of personal competitive advantage, whether they admit it or not.
That's an interesting theory. I can't say that I've spent a lot of time thinking about that, but I guess it makes at least semi-logical sense in an argument. I always, when you're young and you're restricted, you can only go to this, you can only go this, you can only go to this. In my mind, it's like, I can't wait until I'm old enough to go to that. Right. I can't wait till I'm big enough to race all the way to the scoreboards. That, I think, would be my take on it. But again, I grew up in an era where quarter mile was pretty much all we had out here. And I guess I'm picturing it in basketball terms, I think. When I was a little kid, we'd play on like a 7-foot hoop. And then when we got to be a little bit, because we couldn't throw a ball 10 feet in the air. It's like, what, are you kidding me? And, we'd go down to the schoolyard, and I'm telling you, I can remember being down in the schoolyard and take everything I got to try to throw the ball high enough to get it into a 10-foot basket. And then, you get a little older and you get a little bigger, and it's like I couldn't wait until I was shooting 10-foot baskets. And once I got old enough to do that, I didn't want to go back and shoot 7 or 8 foot baskets anymore, even though, I could dunk on those things now, but I don't want to do that. Just like I was waiting to get old enough, big enough that I could do it like the pros do, or like, the big kids do. And I didn't want to go back to doing it the way the little kids did it once I got an opportunity to move on. So, I don't know, maybe that's just my mindset.
I like it though. I like it. Like, we got to start guilting some of these kids into exactly what you're thinking about. You're doing the kids stuff, guys. But just an interesting discussion out there based on my racing experience. And, it is, in the end, you either want to do it or you don't. and you'll do whatever they're offering. And it was eighth mile, and I did it, and I had fun, and I did. I had a great time. I would have had more fun on the quarter mile, but hey, it is what it is. And finally, since I'm relaying my personal experience here this week, you know what else was interesting? And I know Peter and Kyle with the K&N Spring Flings kind of innovated separating door slammers and dragsters until the late rounds. Mm-hmm. I have run, now 2 years in a row, I have run, I believe, 6 elimination rounds. Not one has been against a door car. They have all been against dragsters, which are much quicker than me. And I have won and I have lost, and I can beat these dragsters occasionally, sure. But you know what? It's not fun, Alan, because I'm on the track by myself. I'm like way out in front of them. I launch. I hit the tree. I'm going down the track. I'm looking in the rearview mirror. This guy's hundreds of feet behind me. Nobody is next to me. I do not get the experience of like any kind of wheel-to-wheel, side-by-side thing. And then they fly past at 40 mile per hour faster than me, and either I won or I lost, which is, I get it. It's fine. Luck of the draw. But in the elimination rounds that I've run, it's all been against dragsters, which now has me considering something I would have never considered, which is switching categories with my car from the full electronics class, which I have had, great success and fun over many, many years, won a track championship, finished 11th at the 5-day, had success, to now, just for the thrill of running someone who's maybe a little slower than me or the same speed as me or just a little quicker than me, so that they're in the picture, so that I can see them and look over at them and try to determine who's getting there first. I'm not getting any of that experience the way it has been because they're just so far back. Now, maybe it's because I'm too slow. And I know that someone's going to be like, Joe, spend the money, get a home equity line. Go out there and buy a Butler Pontiac. Maybe I should do that, right? But really, I'm going to have to start going off the bottom if I want to run a car that's even remotely close to me. And I found that to be a little interesting, too. I'm losing the fun aspect of actually being wheel-to-wheel with someone.
Well, I think most people would subscribe to the theory that the person with the faster car has the advantage, if for no other reason than you're watching the race develop in front of you instead of looking over your shoulder, trying to figure out how it's going to play out. So, cars have gotten faster and faster. And, I agree. I haven't been to a good Super Pro race in a while, but it seems that there are less and less door cars and more dragsters just because, if for no other reason, there's a perceived advantage. And if you're going to go out there and try to race and try to be competitive, you can't give up any advantage, whether it's real or perceived. So, more and more dragsters and less door cars. And, some guys obviously would rather fight than switch, but the vast majority have decided that, okay, if this is the way to go, then this is the way we're going to go. And everybody comes to the same decision, sooner or later down the line.
There it is. Simple as that. Well, Alan, thank you very much for the debrief on my bracket racing experience. This was good.
Yeah, can't wait to do it again next year.
Yeah, it's so true, man. It's terrible. No, you know what the real answer is, and I'm slowly moving towards this, is my car is perfect for super street. And this is what I need to do. I won't have any of these problems if I just finish the conversion to a 1090 car and get what I need to get to do that, and it is definitely my plan, and I don't know when I'll get there, but I will get there eventually, and that solves all the problems. The 8th mile problem, it solves the dragster problem, it solves all of those problems to go out there, be wheel-to-wheel against someone. Yeah, there are 160 mile per hour super street cars, sure, but they're not, plentiful. They're occasional at very least. So, yes, in the years to come, 2020, 2022, I think we'll be where we need to be.
So aside from the throttle stop, what's holding you back?
Just a throttle stop and a new delay box with throttle stop timer. That's it. And getting the car to run what I would deem, reliable. Like, okay, this thing is ready to add new parts and pieces to, as opposed to figuring out what's already there, which we're getting there.
Gotcha.
Yeah, no, that's the plan. And I even got one all picked out. Mr. Gary Stinnett has, that's his business.
Yeah, absolutely. That's not a bad way to go.
Yeah.
He certainly seems to know a little bit about it.
A little bit. A little bit. Cool deal. Alan, great job. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Next week, we'll have like a pre-PRI discussion as we are getting ready to head to Indy, and everybody in the racing community is getting ready to head to Indy. It's going to be a whole lot of fun mowing the lawn up and down. Hopefully it will not snow and be frozen for both of us. And, hey, did you hear about our buddy Johnny Moto?
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, he got the... I guess everybody needs to just Google it. He was out hiking and had to be rescued, but he's fine.
That's it. Our great buddy Johnny Moto, who is like a fixture on the NHRA Tour, behind the scenes, had a harrowing experience, and he's okay. That's good news. All right, Alan, great job. Thank you so much.
All right, Joe. We'll talk soon.
There he goes, the voice of the NHRA. Alan Reinhart joins us each week right here at the start of WFO Radio. Talked a little pro stock. Talked a little PRI. We'll build upon that next week. I'm very interested in the seminar or panel discussion, racing in 10 years, racing in 20 years. I feel like that's a topic we have discussed, a common thread through our 10 years of WFO Radio. And did you know that we are now in our 10th season of WFO Radio here on the WFO Radio podcast? It's amazing stuff. Amazing in our 10th season. And very happy about that. I think about racing from many different angles. We talked a lot about my experience, and there were some things that I deem challenging, talking about it, complaining a little bit, like the dragster thing, right? Me racing against a dragster in my 78 Pontiac Trans Am, it is a mint 10-second car that really most of the racing technology that is on it is from the mid-90s. When I was racing on a regular basis, and then after that, I went off to pursue a career hoping to make it big, never did, and I have this car sitting there, and I decided to myself, like me and my dad, we need to get out there and race. I cannot wait to become a multimillionaire and go out and buy the best equipment on the planet and all that, and so I went out and raced, and I did have a good time, and I don't mind racing dragsters. I'm okay with it, but every single time, 2 years in a row, every time I go down the racetrack, I'm alone. That's less fun. So it looks like I'm going to have to switch categories. I'm going to have to take the delay box out. I'm going to have to start going off the bottom. I'm going to have to fundamentally change the way I race once a year if I want to continue to do it, if I want the side-by-side experience. This is something I'll talk about a little bit more in my time at the tail end of the show, brought to you by patreon.com/WFO Radio. We're going to have new content for the Patreons up there real soon. But right now, we got to get in the groove. We got to get ready for our champions. Steve Torrence, Frank Aragona, Ronnie Proctor. Then we'll talk pro stock with Bobby Bennett. Then I'll get to my time at the very tail end of the show after Bobby Bennett. And hopefully, what are you guys doing with the drag racing community, right? We're going to watch the numbers go up. Some people disconnect. They don't want to think about it for a while. Others dig deeply into it. That is me. I dig deeply into it. Now, the holidays are coming in. I know everybody is stressing about what kind of gifts to get. And I mentioned Cyber Monday and Black Friday and all that. But really, I'm telling you now, hopefully I've built up a little bit of trust with you folks over the years. And if you've never ordered from RodaxCoffeeandGrills.com, you either hate coffee or you hate the show or something. You're just not interested, which then, this is not for you. But your friends, they love coffee, hot sauce, spice rub, coffee mugs, tools for grilling. All this stuff is available at RodaxCoffeeandGrills.com. Open a browser, go to Rodax, RODAKS, coffeeandgrills.com. Click the contact button, and then just look at some of the stuff you've got there. All the different blends of coffee, all the different stuff, the coffee club subscription. Getting something new, trying new things is the spice of life. You can imagine the person who receives the Rodax holiday pack, getting it in the mail and, experiencing this extrasensory experience. The smell, the aroma of the coffee and the hot sauce is so great. It's perfect with breakfast, all of these things. Here's the deal. You got to call Marvin, 817-924-6821. I know you're sold already. He's coming out of Fort Worth, Texas. Big drag racing fan. 817-924-6821. And the best part, it's pretty convenient. You just work it out with Marvin. And then all of a sudden, your gift recipients. What are these people called? The people that you're getting the gifts. I need that word, right? What is the word for the people who are receiving the gifts? I don't want to say recipients because it sounds so negative. 817-924-6821. Your loved ones, your best friends. Call them. Get Marvin to send them a holiday pack for Christmas. Rodax Coffee and Grills.com. They've got it all. When we come back, it's going to be Steve Torrence, the champ, the perfect champ, after this.
This is WFO Radio.
Hey, racers and race fans, I want to tell you about the motorsports guys. Terry McMillan from Elkhart, Indiana, has got a new venture, and we want you to hit the website at motorsportsguys.com. It's going to be a one-stop shop. They're going to have it all, but most importantly, oil, Amalie, better than it has to be since 1903, available at motorsportsguys.com. Check it out. Bookmark it, motorsportsguys.com. Terry McMillan stepping up as a supporter of WFO Radio. Check him out, motorsportsguys.com.
Start your education at full speed with the School of Automotive Machinists and Technology. Accelerate your career as a high-performance engine builder with classroom instruction and practical hands-on experience in the lab, on the dyno, and at the track. In addition to the blockhead and CNC programs, SAM now offers motorsport, EFI tuning, and an Associates of Applied Science degree. And SAM is a military-friendly school, approved to train veterans and other eligible persons under the GI Bill. Start your education at full speed. Go to samtech.edu today.
Hey, this is Joe Castello, and we'll be back to the show in a second. But first, I want to tell you about CompetitionPlus.com. There's a reason CompetitionPlus.com is the leader among drag racing electronic magazines. Their trained staff is always on alert and always asking the tough questions. The end result is hard-hitting drag racing journalism with up-to-the-minute reporting. For over a decade, CompetitionPlus.com has been a pioneer as drag racing's go-to source for the latest in news, race coverage, and high-quality photography. Their trained staff thrives on getting the inside stories, and their columnists study their topics before they hit their first keystroke. When it comes to covering the races, they leave you feeling as if you've actually been to the race. CompetitionPlus.com is an honest-to-goodness, free drag racing magazine published by the most passionate of drag racing fans, who just happen to be journalists. Don't wonder what's going on in the drag racing world. Be in the know daily. Log on to CompetitionPlus.com.
Subscribe to WFO Radio on iTunes. Never miss a show. And don't forget to write a review. WFO.
Now, back to WFO Radio, NHRA Nitro.
Welcome back to NHRA Nitro, WFO Radio. Steve Torrence, Ronnie Proctor, Frank Aragona, Bobby Bennett, all coming up. Stick with the show. And we've got these sponsors we got to tell you about, but sometimes it's about going and doing. And coming up next week, Hangstafers, Metalworking Lubricants, and the folks at Hangstafers Laboratories are setting up in booth number 57 at the PRI Trade Show. 57, number 57, Indianapolis, Indiana. And on the 6th, from 1 to 3 p.m., that's Thursday, in the booth, Antron Brown, Tommy Johnson, along with Matt and Zach Sackman. It's going to be like a rotation. You can test your skills. They've got custom drag racing simulators. There's fun things to do. I'm going to be passing by in and out during that time, in addition to my other responsibilities elsewhere. We'll be shooting the Performance TV show for Velocity and Motor Trend TV on that day. But I'm going to pass by. Friday, December 7th, noon till 2. The Hangstafers Metalworking Lubricants booth, number 57. Antron, Tommy Johnson, stop by, say hi, learn about the product, and see maybe they can help you out in the shop, in your factory, wherever you're working. They do things for aerospace, medical, performance racing. And this is the point of them sponsoring WFO Radio. If you are a listener, if you are a racer, if you have a shop, you got to swing by booth number 57. See Mike, see Bill, see the guys there, and tell them what you got. Maybe they can help you become more efficient. Hangstafers Metalworking Lubricants at PRI, booth number 57th. The 6th and 7th, they got celebrity drivers, and I will pass by. They've got their fluid specialist that's going to help you figure out quality and performance that can help you. Hangstafers Metalworking Lubricants. All right, time to get into it. Our first champ, the perfect champ, Here we go. Joining us now, he is the 2018 Mellow Yellow Top Fuel World Champion and completed the historic perfect countdown, something that can never be beaten and only be tied. Steve Torrence joins us now. Steve, congratulations. Welcome back. How are you?
Joe, thank you for having me back, man. That's been, 7 of them in a row that we've got to talk.
Yes. Yeah, no, now you are officially co-hosting the show. You've been on a lot, but you've earned your way on, and it is now sunk in now, or has it? Tell me about it.
You know, it's slowly sinking in still. Man, just the way that everything went down is what I haven't completely grasped. You know, just being able to go 6 for 6 in the countdown, and there's so many little things that can go wrong, and everything, so many things that have to go absolutely right to win a race, you know, and for us to go 6 straight, it's truly still a little bit unbelievable. But man, I'm telling you, Richard Hogan, that guy is just a bad man, and Bobby Lagan and all those guys. I mean, without them, it wouldn't be possible, but it's still a little bit surreal.
No, it is, and it's so surreal that I did a deep dive into the numbers a week ago and just kind of was blown away by some of the statistics over the course of this perfect countdown. I think it was in the second race of the countdown we first started talking about, is perfection possible? And you're like, I'm not worried about that. I'm not thinking about that. But then to fast forward and think that you guys did it, just amazing, amazing stuff. And before we get into some of the numbers and some of the thoughts about it, you've got something big going on this week in Kilgore. The mayor, the whole town is coming out. What's going on, and who can go to this?
Anybody and everybody that wants to come is welcome. So tomorrow night I'm gonna be the Grand Marshal of the Christmas parade in Kilgore, which is, that's cool in itself. I grew up under that thing when I was a kid, and so now I'm actually getting to participate in it. And then Thursday we're gonna have a meet and greet, autograph session, signing shirts and hats and whatever, and have the trophy on display there at the park in Kilgore, or at the Texan Theater, actually.
Texan Theater.
Yeah, and it's gonna be open to anybody in the area that wants to come. It's gonna start at 5:00, and go a couple hours and just get to. I personally get to speak with most of the people in my community and give them thanks for all the support, and I'm really looking forward to it.
How many people are in the town or city of Kilgore? Like, what's the population, as best as your guess you can make?
We're 12 or 13,000, so not a lot of people. I love it. Growing up, I wanted to get out of Kilgore and move to the big city and do my thing, and now I've grown up. I can't wait to get home and get away from all the people, and I'm becoming more and more reclusive as time goes.
Yeah, you say that, but not really when you're on TV and you're flying around to 24 events every weekend. we get our piece of you. When you were at the awards banquet and you saw Don Garlitz go up on stage to win a Lifetime Achievement Award and talk about your crew chief, Richard Hogan, and his dad being like a local icon. He called him the king. That story that Don Garlitz, and all of our listeners can go on to NHRA.com and see Garlitz's speech where he recounts this story. But is that something that you fully understood, knew about, realized that your crew chief was direct, connected, spawn of Big Daddy Don Garlitz, and in many ways Garlitz was emulating Richard Hogan's father?
Yeah, I have, Richard Hogan and I not only have worked together for a long time, but we've been really good friends longer than that. So I've been around Big quite a bit and heard those stories and heard about Charlie the King Hogan, and, it's just part of it. I mean, I knew that's where Hogan got his start, working for Big, and the way that that all played out, the way that all went down, and Big getting the achievement award, and then we being able to win the championship and close the deal, and all of us being able to be at the same banquet at the same time. The way that went down was you couldn't have scripted it any better in a storybook. And Hogan, he's pretty quiet and reserved and doesn't really say a whole lot, but really looks up to Big and just, I mean, it couldn't have been a better scenario the way that happened, and for people that didn't know at that banquet and people that are watching on YouTube and on NHRA to hear that background and that story, it adds a lot of credibility to Richard Hogan, and then also just tells where he came from and a really special but neat insight to the man that, very rarely talks on camera or gives interviews. So I was proud that Big said that in his speech, and it's crazy. Sometimes you look at the situation you're in and don't really understand it, but I've grown up knowing who Big Daddy was all my life, and that guy's the legend, the Babe Ruth of drag racing, and to say that I got his phone number in my phone and I can talk to him and he, have conversations with him and call him a friend, it just tells you how small of a world it is and what we've been able to immerse ourselves in this drag racing.
Oh yeah, and for me, it's a very important historic connection to the past. It's that Garlits is still influencing the sport right now. Of course, every time a rear-engine dragster goes down the track, he's influencing the sport. But many people might think, well, the time of Garlits is long gone by, and that is not the case. One of Garlits' direct descendants still winning. Perfect.
It is, and then you got to look at all the stuff that Big brought to the table. I mean, he's brought so many innovations and pioneered the rear engine dragster, and then on top of that, now the guy's dabbling in this electric dragster stuff with I think 1,000 horsepower electric engines or whatever they are, and I mean he's the leading edge of that still at 85 or whatever years old he is.
Absolutely. And I'm interested in that. I kind of wish he was, he's going for this 200-mile-per-hour record. He's going to do it in, like, Bradenton in front of nobody. I kind of wish he was doing it in front of a huge crowd with all of us in attendance, but that's a different story for a different day. I wish they would figure that out. Let's talk a little bit about, the 6 races. You started and ended by beating Tony Schumacher in the final round. This countdown was bookended by wins over a driver many consider the greatest of all time. To me, there's something to that.
I didn't realize that till you said that. We started there in Reading and raced him in the final. That was, that's pretty neat. I didn't realize that. Tony Schumacher is statistically the best there's ever been, and the guy's won more championships and done more than anybody, and you can't take him lightly ever, and you can't take out 1 ounce of credibility away from him. He handles the job when the pressure's on.
Yeah, amazing stuff. In breaking down the numbers, you guys went down the track. What I did was I went back into qualifying, Steve, 48 runs. There's 48 runs in the countdown, opportunities to go down the track. You ran side by side with someone 46 times because you had 2 bye runs for whatever reason in qualifying. You left first 32 of the 46 times. Very impressive.
Wow. Last year I was probably statistically better on the tree last year than I was this year, but I think that I've matured a little bit as a driver, maybe a lot as a driver, and gone up there and really got up on the wheel when I needed to. And sometimes you can't sustain that pressure level all the time. You need to relax a little bit and go up there and do your job. And then sometimes it's when you go up there and really get on the wheel. So I think that I did a better job at that this year than I did last year. And going through the wreck and just the mental, I would say a mental strain, because it changes your whole mindset. It helped me. It played into my advantage this year to handle the pressure and handle the stress and just go out there and do my job. So I treated every round pretty much the same, and I think that's a pretty neat number, 32 out of 48.
Well, yeah, absolutely. Really, it's 46. It's even more impressive statistically because of those 2 bye runs. When you go in solo, you can't leave ahead of the other guy. Some other interesting stuff, and to me, like, you're not going to dig into these numbers. This is our job. We've got to dig into these numbers. Your best light of the countdown, 0:29, final round to be perfect. That says something.
Well, I've raced Tony enough, and I've started paying, over the last few years, I've started paying really close attention to each individual driver, how they race, what they do, and try to use that to my advantage. Not that I'm playing games or anything, but if I can manipulate the situation a little bit to my advantage, I'm going to. And so I knew the way that Tony liked to stage the car and how he would stage the car. And surprisingly, he did something a little bit different. He flickered the bulb in the final, and that surprised me. But I had rolled it in a little bit. I think that 29 is probably more like a 45, maybe a 50. But it was difficult to get any better than a low 50 for me there all weekend at Pomona. So I knew that I could bump it in 100th and a half or so and really get him. And our cars were pretty comparable. They went out and ran, I think, the same, and they got us on mile an hour for lane choice, I believe, for the final round. So I felt that if I could leave on him, we could win.
There were 2 races in the countdown that you left first every round of eliminations. It was the finals, and it was Carolina. In the final rounds you ran, your average reaction time was 0:48. Terry McMillan got off the starting line ahead of you in that final round. Leah got off the starting line ahead of you, but that was a double step, and it didn't really, that's kind of just a lucky number. But other than that, you were really owning the starting line. But here's the number that blows my mind. 36 of 48 runs down the track in the countdown were in the 3.7 second zone. 36 of 48. You only didn't get down 3 times. Aborted runs. Other than that, you had a very consistent car.
Yeah, the one of those, I know one of those aborted runs would have been Q1 at the finals, and we had a clutch lever break. So it just saw all the primary there before the 60 feet and knocked the tire off. And that's one of those things that in the back of your mind, you know something just happened, something's wrong, because this car has been down way too consistently for us to just knock the tires off at the hit. And then the other 2, I think we just smoked them out there in the middle, didn't we, somewhere?
Well, my detailed research doesn't go that far, Steve. Come on now.
Yeah,
I can find it.
That to go 36 to 48. I mean, that's basically 75% of them.
Oh yeah, well, absolutely. Here, you ran a 4:36 Q2 at the Grove, and you ran a 5:69 Q1 in Dallas, and at the finals, you didn't get down Q1, and that's it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty remarkable.
It's insanity.
Just tells you how focused.
It's insanity. That doesn't happen.
Yeah. It just tells you how focused Richard Hogan was, and then Bobby's doing his job up there, reading the track and relaying that data to him, and they're just making the right calls. I'd be lying if I didn't tell you that the good Lord was just looking after us, because you don't go do what we did and accomplish that without him having a little hand in it.
Luck is going to come into play in all racing, but that's part of it too. I don't know if you follow baseball, Joe DiMaggio's 56-game hit streak. I'm sure there were, lucky balls that kind of just went where nobody was or fell in. It doesn't matter. This historic achievement. Qualifying positions in the countdown: 4th, 1st, 2nd. You guys were absolutely on it. And best ET 366.1, top speed 333.33. Just amazing effort. What has the response been like now that it's been over, and I'm sure you got to go through the log of text messages and voicemails in your phone? Who is the craziest person you've gotten a shout-out from?
Man, I can't even think of anybody offhand. I've had so many different ones that have just popped up out of the woodworks and said, good job. It's pretty neat, I got Joe Amato was one of them that I've always looked up to. He sent me a text from Australia and said, congrats, champ. He was watching over there.
Wow. That is unbelievable. Unbelievable. Now, what about media? The champ has responsibilities. You're the face. You and JR are going to be the face of the sport in 2019, the go-to guys to kind of push the sport of NHRA drag racing forward. I think it's great because you guys are the character guys that everybody has wanted for 10 years. For many years, people are like, oh, these guys are too corporate, right? Oh, all they say is thank my sponsors. And now we've got two guys that are not that way. I'm excited to see what you do with it. I know NHRA is probably going to have you guys out there at some point. You're going to, you always are, gracious with doing interviews. But are you excited about that? Are you going to use this opportunity to, grow the sport of drag racing, realizing the spotlight that goes along with the championship?
Man, I'll tell you what, I'm going to throw NHRA under the bus right here because I've been trying to capitalize on this opportunity quite a bit and just get on some different social outlets that we could promote drag racing with and try to bring a younger, different demographic or whatever we're able to do. We've been trying to push on that really hard, and we've leaned on NHRA to help us, and they've not been any help whatsoever. So we're more than willing to do anything we can, but we just haven't had much cooperation from NHRA.
Oh, wow. That is a bit of a bummer. Obviously, to grow the sport, we got to get you guys out there, you and JR as well. Maybe that's the kind of thing that happens after the turn of the year.
Yeah, maybe so, and we'll just see how it pans out. But it's funny that you asked me that question. I talked to JR about it last night. So we're both working really hard to capitalize on this opportunity. I mean, you can only win a championship for the first time once, and then after that, it never loses its enamor and shine. It just isn't the same as the first one, and we're going to try to capitalize on it as much as possible. Good.
Well, we need you to. Like we in the end, there's a bit of a responsibility that goes on it. We need Steve Torrence to get out there, colorful personality that you are, talking smack, having fun. That's what the sport is right now.
Well, it is, and I think honestly that's what the sport originated as, was a lot of just different personalities out there racing, and the cars had personalities, the drivers had personalities, and that's what made our sport. Look at Snake and Mongoose and all the different little small rivalries that people had, and I think we've lost that.
Well, I think we've got it back because I think you guys are, even Tanner, even Matt Smith, like every one of our champions, even though we are losing Tanner, and I know Tanner's younger brother actually worked with you guys, and so there's kind of a connection to those two families right there. But everybody is a character. There's no, corporate types in this championship group just yet, which I think is exciting. All right, let me ask you this, Steve, because I know you guys, first of all, you're getting ready to go on a big hunting trip. I want to ask you about that. But when you and your mom and your dad got away from the track after the banquet and you're back, family around the dinner table, imagining that happens. I don't know if it does or it doesn't. But what was that moment like? Success, victory, we did it, all the money, all the time, everything that we did, being away from the family, being away from each other, you and your dad staying at work, keeping things going. That moment of understanding what you had accomplished, was it what you had, dreamed it would be like?
Well, I came home and I think I immediately left and went to the ranch the next couple of days, but we've all kind of processed it in our own minds and own time, and they called me. I was down at the ranch, and they called, and they said, we're the champs. and I think they were sitting on their back porch at home watching TV and having a glass of wine. They said they watched it 4 or 5 different times, and it's had the same outcome every time. So it's been very, very gratifying to have accomplished this after, you know, what you did, everything you just said, all the time, the effort, the funding, all of the stuff that it takes to compete at this level, and everything that it takes to keep competing at this level. To share that with my family is second to none, but also to be able to come back and share that with all the people at Capco that make this possible, because in the big scheme of things, those guys are my family too. I mean, we're not a real big business. We're 300 to 500 employees, and we know almost every one of them. We know every one of them, and we've got employees that have been around for the second and maybe third generation now. So it's really been special to be able to share that with everybody, especially my family.
Great stuff. I think it's one of the more popular wins that we've seen in a while. I think your best work might be ahead of you, though, as champion. Going to be interesting to see you at the number 1 on the car. Folks out there, 5 p.m., Texan Theater, Kilgore, Texas. Go there and enjoy a little time with Steve. Now, Steve, I saw the video of the baby cow or calf. What is? Tell me about that. Educate me. What was I looking at?
That was a newborn calf. We were out checking cows that day, just riding around on horseback and really just relaxing. And we came up and the mom had just had that calf right there, and we spooked her a little bit. So I picked the calf up and got him up and walking, and Mama come back over there and got him. So nothing too spectacular going on there, just making sure that the little fella could get up and walk, and Mama was going to come back and get him on the milk.
And now you're getting ready for a trip. This is a yearly trip for you to go, like, decompress. What do? You get away from all technology, am I correct?
Well, absolutely. I still have communication, but we typically put it in the closet and leave that cell phone off and away and just hide out for a week or so and just relax. I'll have some clients from Capco come down and entertain them for a couple of days, and then other than that, it's just a getaway. I'm gonna enjoy that time, and it's back to the grind at Capco, and racing season starts up again pretty quick. So we need to just unravel and unwind for a few days.
There you go. Now, I'm not going to ask you about going back-to-back just yet. We'll talk about that in January. But let me tell you, JR's guys and others immediately thinking about it. It's, there's no reason that you guys can't go out there and start off 2019 the way you ended off 2018, the way you guys are running. I want to wish you congratulations. I want to thank you for coming on WFO. Every time you won, we got all these interviews there logged forever. What you thought, what you were doing, what happened in the race. I appreciate you for doing that. And I want to wish you congratulations. Thank you for coming on WFO and being a friend of the show.
Thank you, Joe. I appreciate it, and I hope I can continue to co-host it with you next year.
Yeah. How about that the 50th Gator Nationals win? That is a crown jewel victory that's out there waiting for somebody.
That's waiting to be taken. We're going to see if we can go pick it.
There you go. Steve, have fun on your trip. Good luck at the big Texan Theater, 5 p.m. this, Thursday evening, city of Kilgore. Everybody should go out there, hang out, enjoy the parade. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks, Joe.
Thanks, Steve. Steve Torrence with us here on WFO Radio, NHRA Nitro, the perfect countdown. One of the greatest single accomplishments, if not the single greatest team accomplishment in drag racing history. 6 for 6 in the playoffs, 11 for 11 over the course of the season. Simply unbelievable. Congratulations to that team, and thanks to Steve for coming on the show. I really think Steve has the star power to break out beyond the sport of drag racing. I hope he gets the opportunity to show his character, what he's all about, during the offseason and some media tour-related championship appearances. Both he and JR great personalities, and great faces for the sport of NHRA drag racing. These are the people that we are, and, they're not corporate guys. They're, a little rough, but not rough. They're just right. They're themselves. They are who they are. And that's exactly what people want to see. So good luck to them in that. And we're going to have J.R. Todd on the show in the coming weeks as well. Maybe even next week before our PRI show. We got more to come. We got Ronnie Proctor. We got Frank Aragona. We got Bobby Bennett. In my time, I'll tell you a little bit more about my bracket racing experience, all that coming up. But right now, I want to tell you about catspotlitter.com. Open a browser. Go to catspotlitter.com. Here's the deal. Lugging around big, heavy bags of cat litter if you have a cat, that's over. That is over. Now you just go to the web. You go to catspotlitter.com. You order up. It shows up in the mail. Simple as that. That is a huge convenience, but also it is dust-free. It doesn't have clumping agents or toxic clay. It's not heavy. You can get rid of it easily because it is all natural and biodegradable. Plus, it just shows up in the mail. How cool is that? It is made from a renewable resource, which is coconuts, and your cat will love it. Now, maybe you don't have a cat. You're like, Joe, this is great, except I don't have a cat. Well, I don't need the cat litter. But Magic Dry is made out of the same stuff, and it is great for your shop because it is so absorbent. Go to catspotlitter.com. Remember, Scott Palmer having a great year. They finished in the same spot in points, maybe one position lower, 10th in the point standings, but they raced so much better, coming up a couple of thou short of some big races against Tony Schumacher a couple of times over the course of the season, going down the racetrack, setting career bests in their final race of the season. Great stuff. How are they able to do this? catspotlitter.com, and all you drag racing fans that support the sponsors of the sport and WFO Radio especially. catspotlitter.com. Hit them up, check it out, and enjoy. We'll be back with more champions. Frank Aragona Jr. is next.
It ain't just wide open, it's WFO.
Hey everybody, this is Joe Castello. When I'm at the racetrack, I am always checking out the cars to see what's hot, what's cool, what is the nicest and best and most effective part piece out there. And what I am finding is that the folks at Aerospace Components have got it going on. They've been in business for over 30 years. Everything is made in America, and they are family-owned and operated. Aerospace Components is a name known throughout the racing industry as one of the leaders in manufacturing high-performance drag racing products. Their Tampa Bay area facility is equipped with state-of-the-art CNC machining centers and inspection equipment. You got to get it right. They get it right. They have racers all over the country that run their brakes, shifters, vacuum pumps, water pumps. They do so many different things. And if you go to their website right now, Aerospace Components, you can check out exactly what I'm talking about. And if you want your front brake calipers in pink or aqua or green, they can do that too. Check it out. That's aerospacecomponents.com. Check out the website and let them know you heard it on WFO.
Get fired up on the WFO line.
WFO, Joe.
954-889-6796.
Just been an absolute joy to be a drag racing fan.
Go wide open, and your call may be used on the show.
Or preface by saying I'm not a Kurt Busch fan or apologist. I don't know where Greg Anderson's ego is gone, but I know one person that's going to be a big-time villain in pro stock.
That's 954-889-6796. That phone line is always WFO.
You've been listening to WFO Radio for a long time now, and you hear these racers all talking about how much they spend, how much they travel, how hard they work, all to accelerate really, really quickly. Well, Frank Hawley and Frank Hawley's Drag Racing School has figured a way for you to do it at a fraction of the price, the work, the effort, the time. It is a fun experience. It's called the Dragster Adventure. Go to frankhawley.com and investigate. They travel the country. They're coming to a track near you. They put on a program. You make 3 runs, a half track, and 2 full track passes. No ride along. You drive it. You are the driver. It's called the Dragster Adventure. Go to frankhawley.com to find out more and tell them you heard it on WFO.
WFO Radio is brought to you in part by Extreme Velocity 3 Drag Racing. Download for your mobile device. Win your way on the show. WFO.
Now, back to WFO Radio, NHRA Nitro.
Welcome back to NHRA Nitro. More champions ahead, but right now I want to tell you about HusseyPerformance.net. David Allen and the team over there at Hussey Performance. We're talking about any bore, any size, any thickness. Copper head gaskets, the best in the business. They are the most accurate out there on the market. We're talking about increments of 1/1,000th of an inch. And if they don't stock it, they can custom make gaskets for any application. They are the best in the business because they have over 40 years experience in the copper industry. 40 years experience. That's a lifetime or half a lifetime for most people out there. They know exactly where and how to purchase copper at the tightest tolerances. We're talking about 1/2,000th of an inch. So if you are a tractor pull guy, if you are a Honda engine guy, if you are a whatever you are kind of guy, Hussey Performance gaskets are available for you, and if they don't make them already, they will custom make them for you, and it doesn't take a long time either, typically less than a week. So it is the winter break, and you're probably stocking up for the 2019 season. If you're a WFO radio listener, call Hussey. I know you got a guy that you get head gaskets from, right? I know you got a guy already. You've been doing it for 10 years. This is the guy. You always get the same gaskets because why not? You just order them. And what I'm telling you to do, and what I'm asking you to do, if you listen to the show on a regular basis, is try HusseyPerformance.net. Call David Allen, his personal cell phone, 724-318-8292. 724-318-8292. They personally inspect every single gasket. David does. He's carrying around the micrometer all the time. Everything made in America. Certainly. The machines. Everything made in America, located in Ambridge, Pennsylvania. And, of course, the same copper head gaskets used by the champ and top alcohol funny car, Sean Bellemere, Hussey Performance, on the side. Tell him you heard about it on WFO Radio, by the way. 724-318-8292. That's HusseyPerformance.net. Our next champion is the Lucas Oil Competition Eliminator champion. He got the job done. 613 points. Took the win. Frank Aragona Jr. joins us now. Frank, welcome to WFO as champion. How are you? Congratulations.
All right, Joe. Thank you. I'm doing great.
You and your
dad.
It's been
a great year.
You and your dad. I can't help but think, I think about you, but I can't help but think about your dad. You remind me of me and my dad, except you guys are world champions. We're not. What is it like to go out there and accomplish a goal like this now for the second time, part of a family racing team, you and your dad?
Well, it's an incredible feeling. It's an accomplishment that many have tried and not many have achieved. So it's pretty amazing. The first one is always great, but I'll tell you what, the second one feels just as good. And as far as my dad's concerned, I think it felt even better for him because, he's getting up there in age, and this is not easy on him these days as it was, in 2007 when we were doing it. But I couldn't do it without him, and really proud of him.
And I don't think he wants to hear about this because it's in the rearview mirror, but still, bringing that into focus, that every race is a wonderful opportunity to spend time together. He got hurt at the track a couple of years ago and wasn't able to come out for a while, and so I'm sure this is a lot sweeter to him.
Yeah, absolutely. He's 72 years old, but he thinks he's 35 still, and unfortunately I can't travel to the races and run my business, so he does a lot of the traveling alone, and sometimes I'll get there late Wednesday night or Thursday night, whatever the case may be for that particular event. And that one Wednesday, when it was at Charlotte, he tried to unload the cars by himself, even though he had dozens of friends around him. He was trying to let it out for the tech guys to inspect it. And he slipped on the trailer door, and the Supercomp car rolled over his shoulder, and he had to have rotator cuff surgery. So that wasn't too much fun. It was 6 months of recovery, but he actually recovered when I bought this new comp car from Charlie Greco when we came out with it beginning of last year, and we came out strong and finished second last year. So he was right there back in the action, learning with the new car and making it all happen last year also.
That is great. It's great to hear, and I hate to bring up stuff like that, but the fact is that was a down point, and you guys were able to rally back, and I'm sure it's very meaningful to him. Speaking of the car, This car has now finished in the top 2 in points, 2 world championships and a second in each of the last 3 years. When it first came out, I went over and spoke with Charlie just about how he, dreamed it up and what went into it, and certainly all the effort. Doug Dahl able to go out there and win a championship. Tell me about deciding to buy this car. You obviously made a great decision, but, was it, we got to get that car that's championship caliber car, or, talk a little bit about the motivation to go out there and get this comp championship with this car.
Well, obviously that was one of the motivations. The quality of the car is incredible. Charlie did a great job. It was a class that was created a bunch of years back by NHRA. Nobody really ran it. And, Charlie saw an opportunity to be competitive in the class, and he spent a couple of seasons developing, and it came out. When they came out strong, and Doug Dahl's a great driver, and they were able to secure a championship right away. And that was one of the major motivations, obviously, the competitiveness of the car. The second one was we've had 4 cylinders for many years, and we had great success with it. But when NHRA changed the fuel rules and eliminated the use of VP fuels, it sent us for a curve, and we had to use the Sunoco, which with the 4 cylinders, it was a little bit challenging, and it was causing us a little bit of performance disadvantage. So we had to come up with some different ideas, and one of them was switching over to fuel injection. And at the same time, Charlie decided to retire. That car came available, all these thoughts in our mind, and Charlie and I were able to come to a deal, and we bought the car.
Wow. And now last year you come up short up against Rampy, and you're coming on strong at the end, though, and I can't imagine, the learning curve, new car, figuring it out, changing. Doug Dahl and you are a different frame individual. Let's put it that way. So I'm sure some things were very different, but you gave it a really good ride. At the end of 2017, were you disappointed? Were you motivated? Because clearly here in 2018, you were out for to win the title.
Well, I was very happy with my year because we won a bunch of races last year. And to do that first year of, a new car with fuel injection and just not knowing really where we're at. And for years I've been being chased. And in that car I was doing a lot of chasing. And I made some mistakes driving here and there. And, probably should have won the championship, but Rampy had a perfect season. And I didn't have a perfect season, and it was only the second year of personal indexes, and there wasn't a lot of guys that had their stuff sorted out at being as competitive as it was this year. This year, a lot more guys came out, and a lot more guys were competitive with the third year personal indexes, so it made it a little harder. And as you could tell, this year was much harder because 613 won the championship, where last year I think I was 660 something and lost.
There, yeah, exactly. Now, most of our listeners are probably logging on to hear about the Mellow Yellow Series, to hear Steve Torrence talk championship, perfect countdown and all. But Competition Eliminator is as die-hard a drag racing category as there is, and that the fans of Comp Eliminator are intensely knowledgeable, passionate about the cars, the drivers, the teams. They're seeking out information about the category and frankly are hyper-focused on it. What can you say to the casual Nitro fan that may interest them in Comp Eliminator? If you don't mind doing that for me, because I want to see more people interested in Comp. It is one of the coolest and most interesting categories. Yes, it is beneficial to be able to know how to do math very quickly in your head, especially when you're the announcer. But, what is it about Comp that has attracted you for so many years?
Well, you have to be very innovative with the class and the car you're going to run. You have to be very mechanical in making things work and getting every ounce of horsepower out of the engine and every thousandth of ET out of the car once you put a combination together. Then on top of all that, it's a complete chess game to qualify in the right position, drive the other end to save index for the succeeding rounds, save index for the future where you don't hit yourself personally and stay competitive for races and seasons to come, in the future. So it's a very big chess game where, as nice it would be to race to the end and not worry about lifting or anything like that, like you got to do in bracket racing or super stock racing or comp racing, it's still a very challenging thing, and that's what drives me the most, and that's why I loved it most of my life, is the challenge of making it all happen and putting all those pieces together and coming up with a win like.
So you view the CIC aspect of it, and again, people, Bob Fry once gave the advice to Louis Bloom, who forwarded it along to me, like, don't talk about CIC because people don't understand, and the explanation is just impossible given the circumstance. People want to, this guy won. Frank Aragona won the race. That's it. Move on and let the diehards figure it out for themselves. But that is an aspect of it that you consider additional challenge.
It's an additional challenge, and it's beneficial to people who want to run comp, because years ago, before they had it, if you had a guy that was, 70, 80 under, and every race he went to, he never got penalized. He was always 70 or 80 under. He won countless races. I mean, there was guys that dominated in those times because of that reason, and that's why NHRA created this CIC system, and they have revised it a few times throughout the years, maybe even several times throughout the years, to accommodate the change in economy and the racing scene itself, to keep guys competitive and keep the class alive. And just like I said, 3 years ago, they implemented this new personal index system, which a lot of us, diehards from comp from a long time ago don't like necessarily, but in essence, it keeps the class alive and going.
Yes, and we have seen cars. The whole point was that there were cars in garages and shops that weren't being raced, and they wanted to get them back out there.
Exactly, and you could see from the numbers, it's happening. A lot of guys are coming out, and there's still more coming out that we know of.
Well, I certainly hope so. Now, as far as the season, the championship season, give me a summary as that. Where did it turn in your favor? Was it pretty much, I know you started off strong, but give me like a couple of points of the season where things were going right, maybe a point or two where things were going wrong, and ultimately you clinched the title, but there had to be some bumps along the way.
Well, it actually didn't start off as strong as I would like to, because our first race was at a divisional in Orlando, and I actually lost in the final to Rampy, and I lost because I gave it back by, I think, 1,000th or 3,000th. I don't remember the exact amount right now.
Ouch.
Because I was trying to save index. And so it didn't actually start off well. But after that was a runner-up, so you can consider that good. And then the next two national events, we won, which was very fortunate. Things were going well up until national event-wise, up until Chicago, where we won the All-Stars, which is amazing. That was my second time winning the All-Star race. So, and then we were still in the eliminations for the national event in Chicago, and I was doing well and got to the semifinals, and I was willing to take some index, which I did, permanent index, but the guy next to me was willing to take more, so we lost in the semis, and that stopped our bid for a triple and a perfect 3-win national score. So, and our national score stayed that way. And then on the divisional side, it was going well in the beginning. We won a couple of divisionals after that runner-up in Orlando. And then actually Doug Dahl was driving Al Ackerman's car in our division, and FTRX, the automatic, and that car had become very competitive. And they were a little bit more willing to hit their index next to me. And actually, I won the world championship, but I lost the division championship to Doug Dahl because of those races in our division late in the season.
Wow. That's,
yep.
You seem okay with it, though. World championship is a big deal. You seem okay with it?
Yeah, no doubt. If I had to trade them, that would be it. But, I just wasn't willing to lose as much index as other people were, and that's where probably in the middle of the year we got hurt the most. So I don't know if you want to call it a turning point, but that was definitely what put a damper on earning more points and stopped us at the 613. And then my last couple of nationals, made a few mistakes. I went out to win Indy because that was one of my goals for the year. And I went out with such a intention on winning. I was pushing a little too hard, and I was 001 red first round, and that ended that.
Yeah, brutal. Now,
Yeah.
Clinton F. was second, David Rampy third, two great racers to have come in. Craig Bourgeois fourth, Greg Camplain. Like, it's a who's who of Comp Eliminator superstars that are queued up behind you in the points.
Absolutely. It was a great year, a lot of competition. Even other guys than that had chances beforehand, and then by the last divisional, I think there was maybe 4 or 5 left. The only ones that mathematically had a chance to pass me was Clint, Rampy, Lane, and Bourgeois, I think. Yeah. So.
Wow, great stuff. And you won the title when it was all locked up. Now you got to go to Pomona. You go into the finals. You're going to check out the banquet and all of that, the pomp and circumstance that is the NHRA Awards ceremony, both for the Lucas Oil Series and the Mellow Yellow Series. That is always a great time. And once again, a champion. It had to be a good time.
Yeah, no, it definitely was. It's great to be part of that. Not many people get to experience that. It was out in California. I went to race Pomona for the first time. Last time I won a championship, I didn't race Pomona. We just flew out for the ceremony. Although I didn't do too well because I think I was 36 on the tree and 58 on the first round and lost. So, but it didn't matter because we were there for the banquet and that overcame all the bad stuff.
Yeah, there you go. Now, what about with this car? You have a unique combination in that, when Charlie built the car, he told me there were only 2 of these engines on the planet. Is that still the case? Have you built more backup stuff? Or are you just kind of nursing it along? Like, what is the attitude
still the 2 engines, but, obviously we keep continuing with new rods, bearings, and, updating the cylinder head with Slocco racing heads and stuff like that. So it's not like when building new engines themselves, but we're constantly updating and maintaining the 2 that we have.
And for people, again, who don't really understand what we're talking about, this is like a new design. Explain what it is. It's it's half a big block Chevrolet with 2 cylinders added, correct?
It's it's a straight 6 Chevy based off of a Chevrolet small block head, actually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
An inline 6 based off a Chevy small block head.
Yes, correct.
That is awesome. And they had to make the tooling to make the engine, which was what makes it so cool. And that is why people love Competition Eliminator, because you're inventing stuff, you're innovating stuff, you're creating things that didn't necessarily exist before.
Absolutely. And that's a big part of the draw to Competition Eliminator, because you have to do things like that.
Now, what about 2019? What are your plans? Are you going to go out and try to defend the title, win another title? What are you looking to do in 2019?
Yep, we're going to try to go out and defend the title and hopefully win a third. We're building a new car for the same engine combination, maybe give us a little room for other places to go and not be stuck in one class. And that's the plan for 2019.
There you go. I like it. And you're not just a Competition Eliminator racer. You have, stock Eliminator car. You run Super Comp. You have, I don't want to call it a fleet because it's not quite a fleet, but you have several cars that you can run regardless of what is available. Like, you'll find some place to race even if there is comp is not at that particular event.
Yep, absolutely. Next year, I'm probably going to try to run the stocker a little more. We did a new motor for it this year. I didn't get it out too much, but we had it out at the Keystones, and we won class with it, and it's running pretty good. So probably start out early with that and see how it goes from there. Maybe we can chase points with that a little too.
All right. Now, Freehold, New Jersey, obviously a story of 2018 that probably the worst, one of the worst stories, negative story of 2018 is losing Englishtown. Had to be, your home track or certainly your home national event track. Bit of a bummer. Now you have to go further away to race. How's everybody up there holding up, given the circumstance?
That was actually heartbreaking for me, but I was very happy to actually win the national event there for the first time before it closed. So that was a blessing in disguise. That track is one of the reasons I moved from New York to New Jersey, to be close to a racetrack and not have to travel from New York. We were there, very often. They were always very good to us. We tested our comp cars there on Wednesday nights, on Sundays, and we obviously raced divisional and national event there for many years. I had a lot of success there. I've only, I had 13 runner-ups between divisionals and nationals there, and only one win divisional, and then finally the one win national. So it was heartbreaking. People still talk about the track closing, and there's a lot of hopes that it'll come back, somebody will buy it, blah, blah, blah. But unfortunately, I think the reality of it is it's dead, and I guess it's going to be a junkyard or an empty lot for the rest of its life.
Yeah, it's so crazy that for so many years, the rumors were about the track closing, and then as soon as it closes, the rumors are about the track reopening. It's just ironic.
Yeah, and it's really sad because it's a great facility in a great location, and it sucks for anybody in the New York, New Jersey area that wants to drag race, even for young kids. If if they go to the showroom and buy a Subaru or a Mustang or a Challenger or a Camaro, there's nowhere for them to go now within 2 hours.
Right. No, and that's too far. That's too far. Just this past weekend, I had to drive an hour and 15 minutes, and on the way home, it was like, getting tired. Like, man, this is a long drive. Makes sense. Frank, a little bit about the family business, right? Tell me a little bit about what you guys do when you're not racing to keep this thing going.
Well, I'm a third generation union electrician, but I wanted to be in business for myself. So 18 years ago, I started my own business from scratch. And it's a union electrical contractor. I have about 50 employees, and we keep busy. It's construction, so it has its ups and downs, but I have some good employees, a lot of good people that work for me, and we just keep going at it.
That is great. That is great stuff, and I certainly appreciate it. I want to wish you congratulations, seeing you and your dad out there, go out there, get the job done, win the Lucas Oil World Championship for 2018. Very popular win, very strong season, and I wish you good luck in 2019. What do you got planned for the holidays? What are you going to do, hang around home? You going to go to PRI? What are your plans?
Well, my dad's going to PRI. I'm not. I'll be working. I'll just be spending a lot of time with the kids. They love Christmas. They're still young. My daughter just turned 13. My son's turning 11 next month. So they're still, very big into the holidays. And we got a lot of family that comes over, and we'll just enjoy the holidays and start back up racing in February, which I can't wait for.
Future drag racers?
Yeah, they both drag race. My daughter started this year in junior. My son started 2 years ago, and he actually won divisional Wally this year and the year before. He's doing very good. My daughter hasn't won yet, but she's close. She's been to the semi, so she'll get there.
There you go. Yeah, especially with you helping out, it's without a doubt. Frank, congratulations, winning the world competition eliminator. Let's have you back next year as we get ready to go again, okay?
Sounds good. I like that plan.
All right. Frank, congratulations on your win. Happy holidays.
Thank you. Same to you. Bye.
Thank you, Frank. Frank Aragona Jr. with us here on WFO Radio. Frank and his dad, Frank, me and my dad, Joe and Joe, they're great family. Coming out of the Northeast, very nice people. Great to see him go out and win a championship. And really want to talk more competition eliminator in 2019. It is a category, some call it comp, as in complicated eliminator, but this is really where the super diehard drag racing fans and drag racers are. Comp eliminator. Great category. I remember being a kid and absolutely loving competition eliminator. Now, it does have its challenges. I'll give you an example. Too many Cobalts. I'm sorry, but the Cobalt and the Cavalier and the G5 are great little drag race cars because they're small frontal area, all of that. But when you compare that to like the cars of the past that were in Comp Eliminator, I feel like the past cars were a little more awe-inspiring. But I think that will run its course, and there will be a new crop of competition eliminator cars. But then again, we can talk about all the challenges that there are in motorsports. Think about the fact that the manufacturers are not going to make cars of any kind anymore. That is a story. that we have talked about on the Ignition Show. And you heard about General Motors this past week. I'm sure everybody's up on that, right? Closing all these plants because the average car buyer does not want to buy a car anymore. They don't want a car. They want an SUV. Maybe that's it. Maybe NHRA needs to do like stock eliminator for SUVs. I've thought about it. Like maybe there should be, let's go, we'll do that another day. I don't want to waste material in the future. But thanks to Frank for coming on the show. Congratulations on the championship. And we got more champions to come during the winter break. Ronnie Proctor. Oh, you're loving that idea, aren't you? It's like the Camping World Truck Series in NHRA, but of SUVs. And we're going to have a bunch of drag racing crossovers out there. You're loving the idea, or maybe you're hating the idea. I don't know either. We're going to bring the manufacturers in. We're going to bring Hyundai and Kia and Nissan and Toyota and everybody. They're all going to be in. It's going to be stock eliminator for SUVs only. It'll be like Samtech Factory Stock Showdown for SUVs. Speaking of Samtech, open a browser, go to samtech.edu. All the young people out there, all the people out there thinking about a career in high performance. I'm talking to you right now. First of all, great news. Samtech Factory Stock Showdown expanded in 2019 to 8 races. So we continue to grow this fantastic category that we all love so much. And so many people, including the Mountain View Tire team, are getting involved, Bo Butner getting involved with Samtech Factory Stock Showdown. But the whole category is supported by samtech.edu. Start your education at full speed. And what it is our country needs skilled machinists. It's a patriotism thing, too. Like we're talking about, we need the manpower and the brain power to keep things going. It's not all racing. You can go into the racing world with an education from Samtech, but you can also go to work at Boeing. You can go to work in aerospace. You can go to work in so many areas if you know how to use a CNC machine, if you know how to be a machinist. Not to mention motorsport EFI tuning, all these cars out there on the streets. There's so many things you can do with an education from samtech.edu. Open a browser, go to samtech.edu, pick up the phone, give them a call, 713-683-3817. The future is now. You got to start thinking about this. Give them a call and speak with them. They accept the GI Bill for those that are eligible. There's even financial assistance. Go to samtech.edu and check out their programs because it is something that can genuinely help you with your future, and they can help place you once you've graduated because they have relationships throughout motorsports and in general. That is samtech.edu, and we're going to have Brian Massengill on the show in the coming weeks to talk about the new expanded Samtech Factory Stock Showdown schedule in 2019. I'm super excited about that. I know there's going to be more cars. People are diving in, getting involved because they are so cool. Now these cars running in the 7s. It is going to be great. Samtech.edu. When we come back, we're going to speak with RacingRVs.com top sportsman, world champion, Ronnie Proctor, after this.
Everybody, listen carefully.
Now you listen to me. Why do you listen? WFO, you guys are number one. Honest. Listen.
Hey, WFO radio listeners, if you're in the northern part of the country, I know you're freezing right now. You know what would be great? A hot cup of Rodax coffee. Maybe a little hot sauce, a little spice rub for that food you're cooking in the oven. Check out RodaxCoffeeandGrills.com. They've got over 40 single original coffees to choose from, plus custom blends like Bang the Blower and WFO Radio. Their coffee represents the top 5% of coffee grown throughout the world, and it's all roasted fresh per order. They've got limited edition, seasonal, and rare micro lots. They've got exotics. Go to RodaxCoffeeandGrills.com or just pick up the phone, 817-924-6821. Keep your ear out for those WFO holiday packs. Depends on the holiday what the deal is, but Marvin is wheeling and he is dealing. 817-924-6821 for RodaxCoffeeandGrills.com.
Hey, WFO Universe. Want something for free? Send a self-addressed stamped envelope with plenty of postage, and we'll load it up with free WFO stickers. That's right, I said free. Send your envelope, care of Castello Media /WFO stickers to P.O. Box 848353, Pembroke Pines, Florida 33084. Do it now.
Drag racing Edge. That's the magazine. Subscribe online. Get the issues, $24.95. Keep up with your favorite sport, whether it be NHRA Mellow Yellow, Lucas Oil Series action. They cover drag radial. They cover it all. Drag Racing Edge magazine. Hangstafers, metalworking lubricants. The folks at Hangstafers on board with big racers like Antron Brown and Lucas Oil Series, Sportsman racers in the Racing RVs Top Dragster category. And their number one goal at Hangstafers is to increase the productivity in the shop. Metalworking lubricants, coolants, all kinds of stuff. You got to go to the website and check them out. And so go to hangstafers.com to find out more information. Alan Reinhart always says, like, the one thing that DSR and JFR have in common is Hangstafers metalworking lubricants. We're happy to have them on board, happy to have them helping our WFO radio listeners in their shop. Hangstafers metalworking lubricants, trying to make you a little more efficient in the shop.
Now, back to WFO Radio, NHRA Nitro.
Ronnie Proctor coming up, top sportsman world champ. Right now, I want to tell you about motorsportsguys.com, based in Elkhart, Indiana. Terry McMillan's new venture. At one point, they had mail order for Amalie motor oil. Now they have so much more, including K&N filters, All-Star Performance Racing, and high-performance parts from Motor State Distributing and Lane Automotive. That means they've got just about everything. They've got Wolf's Head, they've got Molly filters, and of course, they've got Amalie motor oil. They've got the new Pro Racing 70 weight with Molly, used by so many professionals in drag racing, including Terry McMillan. It helps you avoid those drop cylinder moments and saves bearings and crankshafts. So if you are a pro-level team out there and you're looking for motor oil, why not use the Amalie motor oil that comes in 70 weight, 2050, 1030, 520, or maybe you're just a fan of the sport and you want to do what the pros do. Pro stands for Professional Racing Oil, and Amalie is better than it has to be since 1903. It's all available at motorsportsguys.com. And remember, when you go to motorsportsguys.com, add that Vegas Win Tribute hat to your order, and then use the promo code WFO at the checkout if you're going to get an oil change. You're going to get your next oil change with filter on motorsportsguys.com. Add the hat will be free. Just like that, why not do it? It's worth like $28, man. Get on there. And plus, you're helping out Terry, you're helping out WFO Radio, and we are out there to let everybody know that motorsportsguys.com is out, available. Check mark it, bookmark it, get on the site, bounce around, see that they do have everything, and start using them. Motorsportsguys.com. And oh yeah, you can do your holiday shopping there as well. Motorsportsguys.com. Moving on with more champions here on the WFO Radio NHRA Nitro Parade of Champions, something that I look forward to every year. And of course, we're going to catch up with all the champions between now and the Winter Nationals. Who knows how long it's going to take, but we got a good start here today. Time to move into the RacingRVs.com top sportsman category. Oh yes, really quick and fast door slammer bracket racing. And at the end, when the smoke cleared, the world champion is Ronnie Proctor Sr. I've called his name many, many times, but never had him on WFO Radio until now. Ronnie Proctor, congratulations. You are a world champ. What do you think about that?
Well, we're just blown away. It's an unbelievable dream. You know what I mean? So awesome. Still living it.
Everybody says it takes a while to sink in. This is your first world championship. I know you've been racing for a long time. When you started racing, I would imagine, a bracket racer early on. Take me a little bit through that. But did you ever think that you were going to become a world champion?
No, not even for a second. That was a dream. Way back when I seen Jim Cunningham came up to my home track, which is Mason-Dixon, and did some testing with his pro stock car. And that when I seen that thing take off, it was one of those, man, boy, wouldn't I like to take a ride in that one day, and then just did the bracket racing thing on through the next forever. And then heard about Top Sportsman and went into that and been hooked, absolutely hooked. What an awesome class. If you're a bracket racer, playing the finish line at over 200 mile an hour is unbelievable rush. That's for sure.
Yeah, you say that so easily. Like, how do you do that? It's one thing that I still marvel at. I find something of great interest and excitement in every category of drag racing. But as someone who has, bracket raced and tried to judge the finish line, the idea that you're doing it at 200 plus miles per hour where you're so far from the finish line because you're traveling so quickly, you got to make a decision way far away from it. It seems like something
Correct.
that is nearly impossible.
Yeah, almost. And there's some guys that's really good at it, and other guys like myself that get lucky at it sometimes. The more experience you have at it, the better. I'm way better at it now than I was, of course, the first year or two when I started in this class. But it's the thing about it, you can't second think. When you think, hey, lift, you better lift because it's too late if you don't. And you're already past the finish line. So, and that gets me a couple times. Lift, I lift and download it on a computer, and I'm already past the finish line. So it's just it happens quick for sure.
Oh man, I can imagine. Now, before we talk about the 2018 championship, I always find that. Maybe not always, but very often, championship seasons begin the previous year with either a good run or a good finish or something that happened, maybe heartbreak. Remind me of your 2017 season. How did you guys finish up?
We finished 10th in the world, and I'm thinking it was 3rd in the division. It was, just not having good luck with things just falling my way. And with that, you just need to just hold on and, keep pushing. I did finish 10th in the world in 17. And the year before that, it was 1 division and then 5th in the world. So on 17, it was good. We came out with the with the mentality of pushing on, and I definitely, my 2018 season was, I had to beat up on myself to keeping my head out of my butt and doing what I'm supposed to do and stop overthinking stuff. And that's what really, happened for us this year. The driver actually was making good decisions and doing what he was supposed to do. I'm a big dummy sometimes, just like we all are. But I beat myself up more than anybody else than my wife does. That's for sure.
Well, it is so challenging. Like, you're being tough on yourself,
Absolutely.
But anybody who's ever done it knows there's a million ways to lose.
Absolutely. And here's the thing about these top Sportsman cars. They're not like a regular bracket car. You don't get them and run one round after the other, after the other, after the other. Track conditions change. You better be tuned in on that car because the power that they make, you really have to keep your eyes on wheel speed, the weather, all the above to get something going mid-6s at well over 200 mile an hour to consistently run to bracket race it. You better be knowing your car and knowing how to tune it, because when you start out in the morning and really good tight track, and then in the middle of the day it's a really 130-degree track, and then in the evening it goes away. You can't just take a regular one of these cars and run them down to there and think you're going to go consistently, because it's not going to happen.
So you're adjusting the chassis, and it makes perfect sense. You're going 200 miles per hour. You're basically running, right around a Pro Stock ET. They have to change their chassis multiple times during the day. You guys have to do the same thing, but also monitor what you think you're going to run as far as your ET and dial it in and hit the tree. And,
exactly.
Wow.
Exactly. I've always I did a bunch of heads up racing, and we're looked down on by a bunch of heads up classes, but I assure you, heads up racing, I don't care what class it is, if you have the money, you can compete. But for the starting line, shoot, that is the easiest thing in the world to let go on a pro tree. I mean, it is so easy, and then all you do is drive it and hold on to it. it's nothing. You know, I have quite a few buddies that run 10.5 and all that, and I just tell them, you know, when they go cracking on me because I drive a Ford like Mohawk, I turn around and I say, you know, hey, put a number on that window and let's go out here. You think it's easy? Come on out, because it's not what you think it is. So we don't do chassis tuning, but we do tire pressure, lead chip, weight. Very seldom wheelie bars, only if the track really has a major change. But we adjust all of the above to get the car. It's a really, really good car, so we don't have to make major changes to get the car to react.
I love what you're saying. I love that you are talking a little bit of smack to those heads-up racers there on the behalf of the bracket racers who are always on the receiving end of the negative talk.
Absolutely. Well, the pro racers and the heads-up racers, you know, if you really want to talk honest to them, they tried the bracket racing thing first and just couldn't do it. And so then they go to the heads-up stuff because, for one, they can afford to do it. Well, when I started racing, I started out poor, but really wanted to do it. And I worked myself up to here, and it was my will, I worked for this and gave a lot up just to be able to afford to do what we do. And wound up meeting a lady that was just awesome, and enjoys this as much as I do. And we're the only ones, you know, we have a part-time crew that depending on where we're at, they'll come and help, but normally it's just her and I. And we're really blessed to be doing what we're doing, for sure.
Wow, that is so great. All right, let's talk about the season. 2018 started off pretty strong for you. You were able to get a huge national event win in Gainesville.
Yeah, let me tell you. I'll tell you how strong it started out. We turned around and run the division the week prior. So I went, real quick, I went to test the day before, left the fuel cap off of my, where I flow my nitrous fuel pressure, and had to abort the run, had the whole inside of the car full of gas, and could have been bad, really, really bad. So, okay, get my head together here, make sure. So we go through that qualifying just fine, then turn around, first round of the division race, start the thing up, go to pull out, smell gas, see gas running up the windshield, did the exact same thing. Well, I'm here to tell you, if I could have whipped me, I would have, for sure. I'd have bruised me up really, really bad. But anyhow, I was really down from that and had a few days to friggin' roll around in that, I was really depressed over that. That was the stupidest thing. And I did it twice. So anyhow, we redeemed ourselves and came out and won the Gators, which that is unbelievable. My wife and I, when we got married, we actually went to the Gators on our honeymoon 31 years prior. So that's actually our anniversary weekend every year. It's a Gator Nationals. So to go and win it, it was cool. Very, very cool.
Wow.
So,
she is very, very into drag racing if she went to the Gator Nationals for her honeymoon. Just saying.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, don't get me wrong. The beach, and stuff like that.
Sure.
But, she's definitely into drag racing for sure.
Oh, that is good.
Our season has been so up and down. I turn around and tell people I've had Satan in my left pocket and God in my right pocket. This week, Satan comes and tears it up. Next week, God gives me a win. This week, tear it up. God gives me a win. That's our whole season. I have never broke more parts in 1 year, ever. In the whole time that I've been top sportsman racing. But we were at went to Galot for a PDRA race. Third qualifier broke the mandrel off the front of the motor that we just won the Gators with. So took a couple bearings, went home, put our 632 in. The next week we had to be at Virginia. for the division race. So put the 632 in and go right up to Virginia and win the race. You see the pattern here?
Sure.
Bad this week, good next week. So that's about how our season went. All good.
Wow. Now let's talk about critical points. So you're going up and down. You're having good runs. You're having bad runs. This is a very challenging category with some great competition. Guys like Lester Johnson, guys like J.R. Lobner, guys like Jeff Brooks, Doug Crumlick. These are the guys who came in points right behind you, all very close. In fact, 599 points, your winning total. You clinched out there in Vegas. Tell me when you started to think, like, wow, we're in this, and we got to make some moves to lock it down. And what did you do?
Well, we were just striving to stay in the top 5 because that's that the world we wasn't looking to win a world championship. We didn't there's a lot of talented racers that usually really, especially guys out west, that make a big move at the end of the year, and it's just hard to be in that position. But when we went to Charlotte and wound up winning Charlotte, I don't count points. I try to stay away from keeping up on points because I find myself, man, I hope he loses so I don't lose points. You know what I mean? And
sure.
I'm not getting into that. And I did that, and it busted me every time. So what had happened, Jamie Brooks, he always calls me. If I make a move, he'll call me up and tell me what position I'm in. Man, So after we won Charlotte, we got back to the trailer, and I run a guy's cop car, and he asked me, he says, "Hey, how's that put you in the points?" I said, "I don't know, but I assure you, Jamie will be calling." 10 minutes later, he calls me, and you're in the catbird seat. So he explains it all out to me, and I go, wow. So then is when I thought, hey, what do we need to do here to stay 2 rounds ahead of these other guys? So that's when we knew that we had a chance, was right after Charlotte.
Wow. And I got to interview you in the winner's circle there, which was super cool. One of my favorite things to do. And, very passionate crowd out there at ZMAX. And then you decided to go west. You had other options, but you decided to go west. And that's got to be, not that it's daunting, or maybe it is. It's a long travel, almost coast to coast for the most part. Huge effort. Was that the first time you had gone west?
Yes, it was the first time I went past Chicago, or St. Louis. I've been that far west, but what has happened, we were leaving, races were all in South Carolina and North Carolina. So I left my trailer down at Greg Slack's house, and he lives probably about 30, 40 minutes away from Charlotte. So our plans when we left Charlotte was to go to Rockingham for our last race. So the week later, I had talked to a couple fellow racers, and they, the one called me and said, "Hey, with PDRE running Virginia, the car count at Rockingham is going to be pretty low." And he said, "So it may just be a 4-round race." And I go, "Well, I had to win 3rd round in order to start getting points, and that put me in, if that's so, that would put me in the final, and I'd only, be able to get a round or 2 at the most." So anyhow, I said, "Well, I'm not going." He was suggesting I go to St. Louis, but I would have had to win all the way down and get my trailer, which is 6 hours, and then another 12 hours to St. Louis, and I just, and that was all within 3 days of planning. I said, no, there's no way I could do that. So then about Wednesday, Thursday, Marco Bruzzi calls me, says, "Hey, what's your plan?" And man, I've just heard this. So anyhow, told him, and he was really adamant about me going to Vegas. So I said, "Well, let me get off here and just check it out." So Mike, I mispronounce his name every time. Mike and Pam Mozaski or Maziski.
Nowitzki?
I'm not. What is it?
Nowitzki?
No, it's Maziski, or I don't know. But anyhow, he owns the top car that'll run, and I called him and I said, "Hey, Mike, is there, would you think any way you could take my trailer out to Vegas?" He said, "I think so." So, long story short, got some help from a lot of friends of mine, and sent him on his way. But no, let me back up. Because we didn't go to Rockingham, I had to go get the trailer anyway, so we went ahead to Virginia PDRA ourselves. I go there, third round of elimination, which wound up being Monday. It disintegrates a piston. Piston just disappears. The entire piston's in the oil pan.
Wow.
Nothing's sitting there but the rod and the pan, and I go, "Are you kidding me? 4 days away, I'm supposed to be putting that thing in a trailer to head to Vegas." So here we go again. So I turned around, and my other motor was wore out, and my 632 was wore out, so I had to put it in there. And Carol Carter worked on the head because I only owned one set of heads, so he worked on the head where it got beat all to pieces and had it ready for me in 2 days to get me out there. And so anyhow, Mike took it out. I had to work, flew out and tested Wednesday, made a couple test runs because the air is so dry out there and the barometer's so low. It was just on a nitrous tune-up, you really got to be careful with that. So long story long, that's how that all came down.
Wow. All right, so you make it out there, and this is a moment I'm always very interested in, especially with first-time world champions. Where were you when it went down? Your competition, they needed to go X amount of rounds, but they fell by the wayside, and there was a point where you were sitting there watching something, or maybe on track. Take me through the moment that you went from racer to champion.
Well, it was second round, and J.R. Lobner, he went out first round, which was that by itself was just hard to believe. He's a good racer, and who he was going against, I didn't know the guy, but the guy had problems. But anyhow, he wound up losing the first round. In the second round, Crumlick, I think his name's Doug.
Yes.
I met him, real nice guy, came over and introduced himself, met him. And so I waited for him to go up. I wanted to be behind him, just to, watch, see what was going on, because I think him and I were supposed to meet up in the fourth round if we both stayed in. So that would have determined or helped determine, the world there. So, and I wouldn't mind if that happened either, because I don't, I hate to be there and somebody looking through and I get cracked. But anyways, I was in the water box and I was behind his opponent. And when the guy took off, I said, man, I can't believe it didn't turn red. So I knew the guy had a decent light, and gets down there and his wind light comes on, and my wife, she jumps in front of the car and she starts crying and she's screaming, and I was running against Robotech. And he had already did his burnout and hype out in front of the car. I was still racing. So anyhow, that was when, I could take a deep breath. And so anyways, it was all history after that. I wound up going and losing in the fourth round to the guy that beat Crumlick, and it's all fantastic. That's all I'd say. It was fantastic. We loved Vegas. the pulling into the water and seeing that big mountain in the background there, that was just it was awesome place to race.
It really is one of my favorite facilities. But then you had to go even further west because you had to go do the Pomona and award ceremony.
Yeah.
So you keep getting pulled further west.
Oh, yeah. I told the wife, that's the first thing they said, well, you got to come back. You either got to go from here to Hollywood or you got to come back to Hollywood. And I go, man, I don't know whether I can afford to be a world champion. So, so we flew back home. Mike got stuck on a mountain in Colorado in the snow, but all good. He got out of there the next day and got the car home safely. And so flew home, worked for 3 days, flew back out to Pomona, or went to LA, but we went to the race in Pomona, and NHRA took good care of us out there, and then went to Hollywood for the banquet and the award ceremony, and that was a blast too. It was an experience, and I wouldn't trade it for nothing and would never forget it.
Wow, that is a great story. Ronnie, congratulations on your World Championship, Racing RV's top sportsman, drag racing immortal now, forever in the history books as a world champion. What are you going to do next year? What are your plans? Are you going to go back out, try to defend the title, try to win another one? What is your schedule? Yes, good.
Yep, we're going to basically have our same schedule. Gainesville first, and then we're still waiting on the Sportsman schedule to come out for NHRA Nationals to figure out which national that we're able to race at. But I do know we're going to Gainesville because they said out there that Gainesville wanted all the classes there for their 50th. So we're going to start there. We're in the process of freshening up and redoing our engines, and hopefully our luck will go a little better, and that championship will be a little easier if I ever get another, but this one will be cherished forever, that's for sure.
Oh, that is so exciting. Ronnie, thank you for coming on the show, sharing us the story
Thank you.
behind your championship. You obviously got a great race team. I've called your name many, many times, and we got to know each other a little bit in that Parade of Champions now. To hear your whole story and how much it means to you is great. And, as much as I love and completely love heads-up style racing, those guys are always very hard on the bracket racers, and you know it, obviously, to hear you giving it back a little bit, like, hey, guys, come on now, we drive these things. I love hearing that, and it's rightfully so.
Yep. Well, I thank you very much for having me on. Appreciate it.
Oh, absolutely. Ronnie, congratulations. Enjoy your holidays, and we'll see you down the road. World champ.
Thank you. You do the same. Take care.
Thanks, Ronnie. Ronnie Proctor with us here on WFO Radio. 3 champions, Ronnie Proctor, Frank Aragona, Steve Torrence, in this first edition of the Parade of Champions on WFO Radio NHRA Nitro. If you're loving this, if you've never heard this before, bookmark the site, subscribe on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts, and we even have our own application, WFO Radio, in the App Store. Be sure to enable push notifications so you can receive all the communications we send out during the winter break. Like phones are open, call in the show, that kind of stuff on our Ignition show. It is great stuff. All right, we got Bobby Bennett coming up next, going to talk Pro Stock, in detail and depth conversation about his new column, the challenges with Pro Stock, where's it going, what does it need, what does he think, all of these things. Bobby Bennett coming up next. Right now I want to tell you about aerospacecomponents.com. They've got so many great things at Aerospace Components. Go to the website or give them a call, 727-347-9915. The racer and your family will not be disappointed with a set of Aerospace Components front brakes. They've got state-of-the-art CNC machining centers and inspection equipment, Tampa Bay area. They are a Florida company. They've been doing it for over 30 years. Vacuum pumps, brakes, the titanium wave brake rotor, saving you weight. So many great products, Aerospace Components on many of the top-level cars out there. You definitely want to follow them on their social media. You definitely want to check out Kim Cussey's show, Kimmy's Garage, on their website. But most importantly, go to aerospacecomponents.com and check out all the great stuff they have. Pedal sets, everything for some of the current cars out there to help you become more efficient and better on the track. And look cooler, too. Aerospacecomponents.com, 727-347-9915. That is aerospacecomponents.com. When we come back, Bobby Bennett going to break it down, bring the heat.
This is WFO Radio.
Oh, the sound of a tiny kitten. How great is that? Maybe you should get one. But then, what are you going to do about the litter box? The only downside to having a cat. The litter box. Like, what are you going to do? What are you going to do with the litter box? And the answer is catspotlitter.com. The folks at CatSpot have developed something new. Their litter is made with one simple ingredient, and that's coconut. It has no harmful allergens, no chemicals for your feline friend or you, because you got to get in there. CatSpot is 100% all natural. It's both odor eliminating and hypoallergenic. It's made right here in America, and the best part about it is they support NHRA Mellow Yellow drag racing on the side of Scott Palmer's car, guys like Dom Lagana, guys like Joe Castello and WFO Radio. That guy is awful. CatSpotLitter.com. You got to check it out. New supporter of WFO Radio.
Download the WFO Radio app. It's sports radio for racing fans.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
The ultimate racing show, including WFO Radio NHRA Nitro, WFO Radio Ignition, the WFO Radio NASCAR Tailgate Party, news, videos, push notifications, and more.
I just hope I'm part of it.
Go to the App Store or Android Market. Search WFO Radio and download it now.
Hussey Performance Copperhead Gaskets. You got to call David directly. 724-318-8292. Hussey Performance Copperhead Gaskets for you engine builders out there. These guys are supporting WFO. Check them out. It is husseyperformance.net.
This is Jeff Rice, a.k.a. Deep and Hot. I just want to let you know that NHRA Nitro is probably the best coverage of NHRA drag racing, period. How can you not like a 3.5-hour broadcast with all the winners specifically for drag racing? WFO rules the airwaves.
Now, back to WFO Radio, NHRA Nitro.
Welcome back. We got Bobby Bennett queued up. Going to talk a little bit of Pro Stock. Fans of Pro Stock, where's this thing going, man? Where's it going? Should we be excited? Should we be depressed? Bobby Bennett going to talk about several of those things. But right now, I want to tell you about Frank Hawley's Drag Racing School and the Dragster Adventure. Look, this is the ultimate gift. I know there are a lot of different things and a lot of different ranges when you're planning out gifts. Like, who's getting the big gifts, right? This is a big gift. You can purchase a gift certificate for your favorite adrenaline junkie and give them the surprise of a lifetime. Just call 866-480-7223. They've already got 2019 dates set out. They're going to be in Gainesville. They're going to be in Fontana, California. They're going to be in Joliet, Illinois, Baytown, Texas, up at Woodburn. They're going to be in Norwalk, Ohio. They're going to be in Reading, Pennsylvania. They're going to be back in Fontana, California, all in 2019. And that's just the dates they've already got scheduled. What are we talking about? We're talking about 3 runs down the track, 1 half-track, 2 full-track passes, 130 miles per hour in the quarter mile, 0 to 60 in 3 seconds. It is a rush. You're not riding along. You're driving along. Or maybe the person who receives this as a gift is riding along, and what are they thinking about? Man, that guy is awesome. I can't believe he got me this. The surprise of a lifetime. Something I'll remember forever, and so much better than that tie or gift basket, whatever it was going to be. Right? Frank Hawley's Drag Racing School, the Dragster Adventure. Get on the website, frankhawley.com. Check out all the things that they have to offer. By all means, if you want to get your Super Comp license, definitely do that. I just always think that my listeners probably just want to get their toe into the water. Go to frankhawley.com, Hawley, frankhawley.com, and check out the Dragster Adventure. Finally, this week, want to jump into great commentary I saw on CompetitionPlus.com, a story we've been really tracking now, many, many years. Joining us now, bring the heat a little bit, Bobby Bennett, editor of CompetitionPlus.com. Bobby, welcome back. Happy belated Thanksgiving. How are you?
I'm doing great, Joe. Thanks for having me.
Oh, no. Thrilled to have you on. And this is a story, I feel like it's a continuing story, the story of Pro Stock. It has been announced an 18-race schedule, and you have penned or typed a nice little commentary that kind of gives some thoughts. I want to encourage my audience to go read it and think about it. This is a discussion that we've been having for a while. Pro Stock, there were too many volunteers and no victims is your provocative headline. But basically, you list many of the areas and directions and points at which Pro Stock kind of made the wrong turn or no turn.
Yeah, and you know, I see Facebook post after Facebook post, message board post after message board post, blaming the NHRA exclusively for the predicament that Pro Stock is in. And, you know, I'm sorry to break it to you. NHRA does do some wrong things, but they are not all totally wrong all the time. And they had an equal and willing partner in what Pro Stock has become today. The racers themselves.
Yes, many over the years, and we've certainly experienced it. I don't want to put, the word blame is so challenging because everybody is governed by their own self-interest, right? And so at the time, maybe people think that it's in their self-interest to do one thing, and it actually turns out that they should have been doing something else. Of course, that's leadership, right? You know, that's why it's so challenging. But in this case,
you know, excuse me, Joe. The one thing that people should take, should pay close attention to, and I mentioned another aspect of the thing is that we have extremely close racing, tight fields, and everything in Pro Stock, and yet that's deemed boring. So, in other words, we're deeming competitive Pro Stock, or not competitive Pro Stock, but just competitive drag racing, close drag racing, boring. We got a problem there.
Yes, we do. But let's explore, some of the things. First of all, I want everybody to go read the column. Bobby does not come on the show, so you do not have to read the column. You got to go to Competition Plus, which you should probably do every day. But you compare and contrast it to Pro Stock Truck. Now, I will tell you, Bobby, when the Pro Stock Truck category came out, I found them to be interesting and neat, but also underwhelming in terms of the on-track action. Now, I don't feel that way about Pro Stock, but I do understand what some of the people are saying when they want for more out of the Pro Stock cars. A couple of times this year, Drew Skillman launched with the wheels a foot in the air, by mistake. But it was awesome. It was like, wow, that's how they should launch. But they don't. And the fact that they're all Camaros, that's going to leave any Mopar or Ford fan disconnected. That's a genuine problem. You combine perceived problems with genuine problems in this column.
Well, the thing is that we can go back through the years and look at places we made wrong turns. Well, number one, we allowed the tail to wag the dog. In other words, we gave the manufacturers too much of a say in the class. And then when the class did not fit their marketing needs, they dumped us like a bad habit. I mean, that's the truth, any way you cut it. I mean, we asked the age-old question, when did we get away from a steel roof and quarters?
Right.
Go back to 2000, and then we started putting composite bodies on these cars. Well, when we did that, we effectively ruled out the opportunity for anybody to go with any other kind of vehicle than what the manufacturer wanted. And that's why you saw a four-door Dart instead of the Hemi Challenger. That right there should make any Mopar fan just throw up. And if you notice, when the thing is that the manufacturers had a say in which cars goes out. Oh, well, I want to build a Hemi Challenger. Well, do it, and we'll end up in court with you. Why? Because it was not a real car. You were making a composite body. So they did have a say into that. Now, if you had a steel roof and quarters, you could tell the manufacturer, go pound sand, I bought this car. This is a real car. Steel roof and quarters, so I will run it in this class. But when we did that and the opportunity, and I buy into the, it's not safe to run a steel roof and quarters at these high speeds. Well, who said we had to go to those high speeds? They would have been self-governing, possibly in the engine department. Well, if you're going to go that fast, you're going to end up on your steel roof and quarters upside down, But it had a way of self-governing. So that's just one of the issues I had.
No, well, I agree, and we've spoken many times on that, steel roof and quarters. For my money, more importantly, the identity of the car. And all of a sudden you start changing the identity of the car and people lose the connection to what the car is. And we did. And people to this day say, well, we don't even know. It's supposed to be a Camaro and we're calling it a Camaro. And it is Camaro-ish, but not really. It's much smaller. And that one change alone did significant damage. It took some time, but it did significant damage. Another one, you mentioned the Dodge Dart, a four-door car, but also what about the Dodge Neon? Think about all those tiny little cars that, Cobalts and Cavaliers and all of those cars, Pontiac Grand Ams in Pro Stock. Like that whole era is where we went off the rails and things began to go wrong. The Grand Am, I had one, should not and was not ever intended to be a Pro Stock car. It's a front-wheel drive car, for gosh sakes.
If you look at in the 1970s in one particular era, each manufacturer had at least 2 to 3 different body styles. I can tell you at one time we had the Fairmont, the Pinto, and the Mustang, all in Pro Stock at one time.
Right.
And they were a Ford. And of course we were running the pounds per cubic inch deal, but if we would have had, maybe somebody could have put a Cadillac CTS in Pro Stock, or something like that. But my God, you got a Challenger and a four-door Dodge Dart. I mean, I even saw, just to tell you how disgusting this was, and I don't want to say I maybe disgusting, but it was so much against what the gearhead would love. One Pro Stock car even had a little suction cup thing on the window that said "baby on board." Really? That's a factory hot rod. I mean, that car probably wouldn't even spin the tires in gravel.
Well, I remember when that happened.
It should sicken every Pro Stock thing.
Well, at the time, FCA wanted, the Charger was the funny car, and the Challenger was the Sportsman stock Eliminator car, and we need another car for Pro Stock. We'll make it the Dart because it'll be aerodynamic. But I wasn't buying that. It was a sad thing.
Was that where the tail was wagging the dog?
Well, I think it was many. That was actually way into that. Like many years into that whole problem. You also mentioned fuel injection, something we talked about a long time ago. We had Warren on the show a long time ago. I know he addressed it in the Legends series, that they were talking about switching to fuel injection in 1989. And then again, you mentioned Ray Morrison wanted to do it in 92.
Ray Morrison in 1992, yes. They already had it to production, was already in the car and ready to test. And because the manufacturer did not want to do it, let's see, if I remember correctly from my notes, is that they did not want the factory teams running away from the rest of the field. Give me a break.
Yeah.
Give me a break. They've tried to make the factory cars run away from the rest of the field for as long as I can ever remember that there were factory cars. I mean... It's just like NHRA had a chance to do it. Now, I'm not blaming the NHRA and the current management or leadership. They're the ones that's having to catch the flack for all of this. I think Glenn Cromwell and his group are doing a great job. This was set in stone years and years early. It just took a while to manifest itself.
Yeah, it's a 20-year problem.
Yeah. So, we could have done it right then when money was at an all-time high for the class. But instead, you wait till, it's like, I don't know, feast or famine on the Ethiopian level in pro stock, and then you're going to throw that out there. Well, I get it. NHRA had to do something, but that could have been a time when the mountain motor cars could have been integrated better. That probably would have done more for the class than at an EFI. But we all can sit there for, and have 20/20 vision.
Sure.
In hindsight. But at the time, the NHRA needed to do something. They wanted to spark interest in the class. And you can't blame them for trying. But in reality, it was administrations before them that should have been challenged to implement this.
Right. And we can all understand, like, this is, like when you mentioned the mountain motors, I'm not really into it. And I don't get the whole stock part of it. And so I don't see it. But you also mentioned in your story, Buddy Ingersoll's turbocharged V6. And to me, that's the direction I would have rather seen it go, or both, right? Buddy's turbocharged V6, clearly that was in step with technology and where it was going, and racing is really supposed to push technology forward. There was a perfect example. Maybe if Buddy Ingersoll's V6 was adopted and embraced and others were allowed to go down that road, who knows where we would be right now with all those programs. We'd probably be vastly in front of where we are at this point.
I thought I was at that 1986 IHRA Fall Nationals in Bristol, Tennessee, when Buddy Ingersoll did run that car. And I watched him in the semifinals come by Ricky Smith in that mountain motor car so fast I thought he was going to spin him around in the lights. And then that if just thousandths of a second, he nearly knocked off Bob Glidden, also running a mountain motor. But the mountain motor thing, we could have implemented that when we had carburetors. But once the NHRA 500-inch cars went to EFI, any chance of that being equaled out, that went away. That was just that ship sailed, as they say.
As they say, yeah, and they, they may run a exhibition category, they may not. We'll see. 18 races is now it for pro stock. To me, it's a little bit of a bummer, but I'm okay with seeing where it goes and how it goes. But in the end, I don't see that solving the problem. Maybe you now take the interest and you distribute it over fewer races and maybe make it a little less expensive for people. Matt Hartford, I know, is planning on running the full tour, and maybe there are others. But I don't know that this is not the only fix. Let me ask you your opinion on that. We've touched on a couple of things that to me are absolutely vital, which is getting back to stock appearing cars. They can be lower, of course. They can be as mean as we want them to be. But the composite roof and C-pillars, along with quarter panels, are just not familiar to the person's eye, and thus do not consider them stock, and thus are less interesting. That's number one. And number two, you got to figure out how to get some other manufacturer body styles out there. I hear there are some racers going to be coming out with Mustangs, albeit composite bodies, here in 2019. Let's assume that new NHRA management, it's a whole new team, new blood, fresh eyes, fresh look, and a desire to make this category popular again. What do you think are some solutions?
Well, I can tell you there's one solution that'll fix it. Fix the whole thing. And it requires a joint effort from the NHRA and the racers. Money. Money fixes this whole deal. It doesn't matter if they all look like running down the drag strip. I said it in my commentary, and I stand beside it, let's say on the lowest extreme level, if it cost you $50,000 to race a pro stocker per event, and these are very smart businessmen, very successful businessmen, at what point does racing spending $50,000 to race for $8,000 to $10,000 make any financial sense in any world? None that I've ever been in.
No.
But on the same token, spending $50,000 to race for $10,000, that's ludicrous. And, you know, one of the reason that the mountain motor program has sustained itself over the years is the agreement by the two major engine suppliers to put a cap on spending for that class, to agree not to do the research and development that will drive the prices way sky high. Again, if you fix the guy spending way more money than it takes to make it out there, and the NHRA ups the purse to attract more teams, then you fix pro stock, and it doesn't matter if they've got stock bodies or bubble-shaped bodies.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I hear you. I hear what you're saying. But first of all, I don't know if that's possible. I don't know if it's possible, number one. Look at all these pro mod guys. They're not racing for a lot of money, are they?
Well, Joe, we put a man on the moon.
Did we?
Anything's possible.
Did we, Bobby?
Yes, we did. We put a man on the moon. When you're on a budget, can you control what you spend?
Yeah.
Or no?
Well,
is it impossible?
You can.
Okay, well then the class, if they come together and agree, we need to do something because our very racing lives are at stake. Where there's a will, there's a way. But you got to check your ego at the door.
I think it's important that everybody know that I absolutely believe we put a man on the moon. I just want to go back to that. Not only that, I believe it, I love it, I celebrate it, and is one of the most significant things that I think we've ever done, maybe the most significant thing as a human race. But now
that's
back.
Probably the only thing that spending $50,000 for a $10,000 return made sense.
Yeah, but we got way more than we got Velcro, man. We got Tang. We got all kinds of great stuff out of that. But what about how do you control spending with people who have more money than they know what to do with? Because that is a challenge. People look. We see it here in Florida in the yacht business, and I always draw comparisons to movies and popular culture of the early 80s and then compare it to now and how big and crazy things have gotten. Like, look at the pit area, Bobby. You want to know where all the spending is going? Well, now one tractor trailer is not enough. Now two tractor trailers. Now an RV. The RV is like $500,000 or $1 million to sit in the lap of luxury and air conditioning. Well, meanwhile, I don't know what David Rayer was doing when he was out there, but he was probably sitting in the back of a four-door dually with like an extended, camper on the back or something. Like there's a lot of money being spent in a lot of areas. So what do you think? Should there be a drag racing equivalent to a salary cap, like a fiscally controlled category where they have to turn in receipts and like you're only allowed to spend $1 million a year? How do you control that? The racers we have rules already, and sometimes people cheat the rules as it is. So that agreement that you're talking about, like, let's not develop our technology, I just don't see it. I can't see that happening.
Well, you have to look at, do I want to be able to compete after my sponsorship runs out? Can I compete as an independent after my sponsorship is gone?
Well, some people can, and most people cannot. I just watched your Legends thing with Al Segrini and love Al, and that was it. When the big sponsor was gone, he got one big sponsor, and that was it. And then he was done. And then he was, kind of a hired driver and bounced around, and it was great. But the golden era was when he had the personal connection to someone at Fabergé. After the sponsor was gone, That was it. That's not good for drag racing. It's not good for anything. Got to be able to hang in for the long haul.
Yeah, and it's we let the spending get so out of control.
Okay,
now,
but here we are in 2019 now. Okay, 500 cubic inch with the EFI. This is what everyone's got. Everyone's got parts and pieces and all that stuff, and they've got their Jerry Haas chassis, and I'm not saying to go away from that. But I've spoken with Jerry. He says he could do something with the bodies. There are people who say they could do something with the bodies. We certainly don't want people to have to spend a whole bunch of money unnecessarily. Like, I don't think the fuel injection was totally unnecessary. I think it is important to evolve. I think it's important. But at the same time, I don't see why we can't allow guys who want to run carburetors to also run carburetors. We were just trying to equalize 800 cubic inch engines with 500 cubic engines. Why can't we equalize 500 cubic inch engines with carburetors and 500 cubic inch engines with fuel injection? If we attempted to do one, which was a massive undertaking, why can't we do the other, which seems more reasonable?
Well, when one gets a perceived advantage, then people are going to have to spend money to convert back over again.
Or you hit them with weight.
There you go, spending money again.
Carburetor cars have taken an advantage. We know they're about a tenth faster, right? Carburetor cars. They're about, now let's call it 600ths faster. Well, hit them with the weight, and there it is. You want to run carburetors? That's your business. There's a bunch of carburetors out there. They're, they're not cheap by any means, but they're available. That's your comfort zone. You don't want to hire the EFI guru to be the guy. Fine, you can run that, but we're going to factor you down. You're going to carry more weight, and we're going to equalize you until it's just about even. And then now we got more cars than they're racing. It's just they got carburetors. And if Erica, who hates fuel injection, wants to go back to the carburetors, then she can choose that. Or someone who wants to continue to develop EFI and try to find that advantage, they can choose to do that as well. And if everybody ends up with carburetors and we have 20 cars, well, then the market has decided. I don't know. That's my opinion.
Well, then you can look back to the example of Pro Mod in the formative years, actually the first 10 years, when the nitrous cars versus the blower cars, and they always believed that no matter how much weight that they put on the blower cars, they were sandbagging. And so a good number of nitrous racers switched over to a supercharger, and that didn't stop them from switching over. You can control it by weight, but you're not going to convince somebody until they get out. That's the way it went. It switched over. So again, you're making people spend more and more money. So you're just better off to stay the course where you're at now.
Yeah, no, I get it. The spending of money. Now, the thing is that this is racing, and it's always going to cost a lot of money. Like, it's always going to cost a lot of money. That's why everybody doesn't do it. That's why I'm not out there. Man, I would love to be out there with a pro stock team. I just don't have the money, Bobby. Just don't have it.
Right.
And also, it's a lot of work, and I don't have the knowledge or the skill or the ability. But other than those things, I would totally be out there, and I would be running pro stock. It would be great. But it is racing. And like Jason Line has said, it's not hobby stock and it's not stock. It's pro stock. Pro as in professional. And this is the highest level of it.
Again, we need to ask ourselves, when did competitive drag racing become boring? Have we as a society, do we need to see something blow up, nearly crash, or be out of control for drag racing to be exciting for us? Or can the actual act of racing two cars prepared almost identically to the finish line, decided by thousandths of a second, and we deem that boring?
See, I don't deem it boring. I deem it exciting. Pro stock. Listen, I was out at the Citrus Nationals this past weekend. I told Reinhart early, I'll tell you. Bracket racing myself, seeing all my old, West Palm Beach, Florida racing buddies. And they know what I do. And there was one prevalent question, not, how are you doing? Or, in addition to like the normal stuff, like how's life out on the NHRA tour, but are they trying to kill pro stock? ? Don't they know that's the category that we, the racer, all aspire to? Multiple people asked me the exact same thing, something like that. And I said, yeah, I think they do know, but I don't know. I've heard many times the they just go down the track or they don't go down the track. There's nothing exciting. We can probably build some excitement back into them somehow. Like those wheels up launches are pretty spectacular. How do we get more of those?
Yeah, but these racers are challenged to race. And their version of racing is not entertainment. Their version of racing is getting to the finish line quicker and faster than anybody else. And getting to the finish line quicker does not include a wheel stand.
Right. No, it doesn't. It doesn't.
It's get to the finish line. So we have to ask ourselves, as a society, even in NFL football, and I know that there's been the head injuries deal, but in football, we have so did away with the value for good defense. Now it's just the offensive show. Can you outscore who you're playing against?
Yeah, 50 to 50.
Stop them?
They score 100 points in a game.
Yeah, my team scored 35 and still lost. That's because we have a defense is like, what is it, Swiss cheese.
Yeah. No, it is, but that 50-point game was one of the most watched games. And I think we are as a society, like that's a, society. Like, boy, that's a big discussion right there. But there is something to it. I'll take you to the NASCAR side of the world. NASCAR ratings are dropping for many reasons, right? But one of the reasons, engine explosions and cautions. Like in the Truck Series race at Homestead, 0 cautions. In the Xfinity race at Homestead, 0 cautions, just all green flag laps. And you used to hear back in the day, right? People would say, oh, people only watch NASCAR for the cautions because they want to see cars crash. And, let's assume that part of that is true. Well, they're not seeing that. And all because all the parts are better. You don't have suspension parts breaking anymore. They have over-engineered all these things and taken out that aspect of it for a good part of the racing action. And there's fewer people watching. Are they connected? I don't know, but they might be.
Well, drag racing should be the favorite kind of sport for somebody with ADD. You've got a race decided in just seconds, and it's over with. And then you've got, as opposed to a NASCAR race that goes on for 3 hours and hours and hours.
Right. Yeah, 3 hours.
Think about it.
3 hours. Now, listen, by the way, we're still very well positioned. The numbers are very positive. Everything is trending, upwards slightly while everybody else is going down and in free fall. So compared to everybody else, we're really good. People love drag racing. Executives from FCA told me flat out that according to their metrics, drag racing has never been more popular. Based on all the shows and everything that everybody does and local track participation. That's why they built that 1320, a drag car for the street that goes to the grocery store. So the story is generally positive. We're focused on this one category. Maybe nothing can save it. Have we considered that?
It's really tough, because we have to ask ourselves sometimes, has naturally aspirated drag racing, has it run its course?
Right.
And I'd hate to think that it has, but still in this world of if it bleeds, it leads, has spilled over into the entertainment value for us as human beings, why do we, a lot of people now, they'll admit it. We turn to the races to see wrecks.
Yeah.
It's a commentary on where our society is headed these days.
Yeah.
That's scary.
Well, it is unfortunate. That is the thing, is that there should be something to appreciate across the board. There's something to appreciate in every single category, and you just got to learn about it. See, that's what I think is killing the category, is that people don't have the time to invest, to understand what's going on. Everything must be quick, easy, easily digestible, the 30-second Facebook or YouTube video that's going to get 1 million clicks, as opposed to the 10-minute one that is long and informative, and its goal is to educate the person on the other end. I think it's exactly the same thing. People just believe that they don't have the time. They see a top Sportsman car. We just had Ronnie Proctor on. Go out there and run, 650, 640s. They don't know why. One's a 632 cubic inch with nitrous and the other's 500 cubic inches naturally aspirated. They don't know any of that. They just know that one is faster than the other, and they're like, oh, all right, I don't have the time to invest in that situation. That's where I think we are, and I think that is the great challenge. Now, how do you educate people about anything? Like in mass, it's always very difficult. And if that's what we're trying to do, oh boy.
Yeah, I mean, we live in a different kind of society than we lived in 1975. I mean, I've heard people say, "Oh, the 1960s and 1970s was the golden era of drag racing." It was the golden era of the time. Golden era of the time. And let's consider this. We had to wait a whole week or two to find out who won a race. We had to look in National Dragster to see when a drag race was going to air on TV. We had to wait till like 2 months after the race to see on Wide World of Sports, the Winter Nationals,
Yeah.
And it's like we had to wait for lots of times for a month to find out who won a race. Now, we live in a society now where you can, a couple of keystrokes, and you can see who won second round. You can actually watch second round. You can go on TV and you can watch the race at 3 a.m. that automatically saved on your DVR.
Yeah.
You got 3 hours of racing. In the 1970s and 80s, we had an hour of racing, and it sometimes didn't air till 3 months after the race.
Yeah, but what you're doing, though, is you're complaining about a whole generation of people that would choose to look back to a more nostalgic time than look ahead and appreciate what they got. We were just talking about this the other day. What you're describing permeates our whole, there's the word again, society, that this nostalgia for a past time that was not nearly as good, but for whatever reason, maybe they don't want to learn how to use the technology, Bobby. There's a lot of guys that they don't want to do that.
Pro stock, case in point, pro stock in the 1970s. We ran a Pinto, a Vega, a Monza, and maybe a Dodge Colt. Ugh. But you know what made those Pintos, Monzas, and Colts and Fairmonts exciting? We had celebrities in our world that were running them, names that were larger than life. We had the Bob Glidden. We had the Ronnie Sox. We had the Dino Dons. We had the Bill Grumpy Jenkins. Well, they only raced 10 times a year. And again, going back to what I said, if you have a hamburger only once every two months, each time you eat that hamburger, it's going to be the best hamburger you ever had. But if you have a hamburger for breakfast, lunch, dinner, and do it 3 days in a row or whatever, we're going to be looking for a Taco Bell. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Variety is the spice of life.
And so we kind of oversaturated our world. We made our world so easily accessible. There wasn't an absence of the heart. You know, absence makes a heart grow fonder. Well,
Yep.
There was no absence. We've got it at the click, and I think because of that, pro stock has probably felt it more so than any other class because it's so doggone predictable. Why? Because racers race to win, and they don't have to worry about going down track and blowing their underpants off. You know,
right?
You know, like in a fuel car, and it's just pure racing to the finish line. And at some point, we have to ask ourselves, when did pure racing, drag racing, to the finish line, two equally prepared cars decided by thousandths at a finish line, when did that not become so important to us?
Well, exactly. And it's a great read. Everybody needs to go check it out, competitionplus.com. While you're there, of course, you want to watch all the Legends, the series stuff. Bobby, great job. I appreciate you coming on, having this conversation. You know, we have done this before. We'll do it again. Changes are happening. Things are changing. But I really think it's going to require, you know, some sort of big thing to focus people's minds on, you know, building pro stock cars and getting out there and doing it. You think, you know, maybe more money. Certainly, they're talking about doing some things with the television show, a separate television show for pro stock, certainly a deep dive into it. I'm all for doing something. We got to keep the category alive, though. And thank you for coming on.
Well, you know, Joe, it all boils down to this. Fix the money, you fix pro stock.
Yeah, simple as that. Well, I just don't see that happening. I don't know what I'm on the outside of that the decision makers lobby. I'm not in there, but I'm happy about the category. Yeah. I want to see it, and I will be there to enjoy it in 2019, hopefully. Bobby, thank you so much. I appreciate you coming on the show as normal.
Thank you for having me, Joe. Hey, and just to let you know, we are working on the final episode of Season 4, Legends the Series, with the wild thing himself, Gary Scelzi.
Wow. Love Gary.
It's crazy. We had to find the perfect. We always try to find a song that represents the subject's life. Like Eric Medlin's, his was "I Wish You Were Here." John Force's was "Rooster." You know, they try to kill him, he'll never die. And you know, Jungle Pam Hardy was "Long Cool Woman in a Black Dress."
Yes.
Well, Gary Scelzi, the legendary Sam Kinison singing "Wild Things."
Ah, with Jessica Hahn dancing around in the background. Love it. Oh, yes. Fuel for a teenage boy.
That's coming up next Friday.
Excellent. Cannot wait. And that, of course, PRI, you'll be there. I'll be there. Everyone's going to be there at the Performance Racing Industry Trade Show. I'm looking forward to it.
That's where we will debut the Gary Scelzi Legends video and give an idea of what's coming up in Season 5, which will open up with the legendary Shirley Muldowney.
Unbelievable. Wow, very good, very good. And, yeah, everybody get on there and watch and subscribe on competitionplus.com. All right, Bobby, thank you so much.
Thank you, Jeff, for having me.
Bobby Bennett with us here on WFO Radio. Thanks to Bobby. Check out his story on competitionplus.com. It has been a long show, so we're going to get on out of here. I appreciate all of you folks. Certainly got a lot of opinions on pro stock and what it's going to take and all of that. But the fact of the matter is that pro stock is not the only thing that is challenged right now. Really, NASCAR is challenged, and driving in cars is challenged. Young people, many of them do not feel the need to get a car when they've got a mobile device that they can summon a lift. General Motors closing these plants because they build cars and not crossovers. Well, they're going to reinvest the money in autonomous driving electric vehicles. That's the future where so many things are going. Or perhaps, more trucks. I would love for them to bring manufacturing of the trucks back into the States. They're not doing that necessarily, but you either want a big truck with a big engine, with an SUV, Tahoe, that kind of thing, or a mid-level crossover. But the next gen, and I was able to drive a self-driving car in Vegas, I was able to ride around in one, is just a fleet of electric vehicles that goes out and picks up the people that want to be taken somewhere. And they won't be thinking about driving as well at all. And they'll be able to do it while coming out of a bar and not worry about drinking and driving. And, old Bob Tasca told us a couple of weeks. Bob Tasca told us about this last year, that your elderly grandfather who is partially blind will be able to summon a lift of an electric car that is autonomous, and it's just going to come get him. And he'll go get in, and he'll end up at your house. These things are coming. There's no way to stop them. If the manufacturers aren't even selling cars, do we need to rely on the manufacturers in racing? What are they doing? Yes, they're making high-performance parts. We've got to stay relevant with them, but we got to know that things are going to change. Things are going to change, not just from what we have now, but in the future, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years. What's Top Fuel going to look like 15 years from now? I will be 60 years old. That's not that old. What's going to be happening? These are all issues that we need to consider. As fans of motorsport, football, they're changing their game because they can't have every kid quit playing because they're going to get a concussion. They're changing the game. That's why offense is out of control. I like offense. Yeah, defensive games can be fun, 9-6, but I don't want to see it every week. But that 50-50 game, like 57-53, whatever, everybody watched that. It was like a video game, and people love that. That's what people love. Every now and again, an offensive struggle is, or defensive struggle is okay. Civilization is changing. People's opinions are changing. Convenience is most important. Time is at a premium. No one has got time. People are working more. People are spending what little time they have with their families. People are spending what little extra dollars they have on things that they love and that are convenient. The idea of going racing 24 times, it's very challenging. I went to the racetrack this past weekend one time for this year. It was a lot of work. I would love to go more often. I don't have the time. Now, I would love to somehow combine the work with the racing or have somebody offer me a fantastic ride that I could just show up and, talk about on WFO radio instead of having to lug my own stuff up there and fight against it, battle against it. Oh, rear main seal leak. All right, pull out the engine. There's more work. It's a very challenging sport. It's not for everybody. It's a very tough, challenging sport. It's very hard. But boy, is it fun. All right, everybody, that's going to do it. Want to mention audible.com/WFO Nitro. Check them out. Start your 30-day free trial. Regarding my bracket racing experience, you can listen to the Ignition Show. I talked about it a little bit at the end. I also did a couple of Facebook Lives from the track. I had a great time seeing all my racer buddies. They all asked me many questions. I appreciate that. Many questions about Pro Stock. It's just a situation. The local racer aspires to Pro Stock and ran into a lot of people. Red-lighted second round of the race. 3 thou red. Crushed it. Came up 3 thou red. And that's it. You lose. Load up, go home. And it was a big money bracket race. Relatively. $5,000 to win, 125 entry. Exactly. It's a tough situation. But we had a great time. Me and my father had a great time racing. Want to do it as often as is possible. So we'll see you next year in November. All right, that's going to do it. Go check out the Ignition Show. I'm sure you'll be entertained by the Ignition Show. Have no doubts. And don't forget, next week, PRI. Swing by the Hangstafers booth. If you see me walking around, be sure to stop me. Tell me exactly who you are. We'll try and have some fun out there for the final time. PRI as Motorsports 2018 ends there. That's going to do it. We'll see you next time right here on WFO Radio.
WFO! The views and opinions of the hosts, guests, or callers do not necessarily reflect that of the station ownership, advertisers, or agencies.
I love WFO Radio.
That was terrible!
Horrendous!
I'm offended!
I'm appalled!
So what are we going to do?
What else? Email it to everybody we know.
Good idea.